Oh, nope. We're on.
Are we? Yeah, we did.
We're
Yeah,
live.
I guess I could have done it a minute later. Whoops. Yeah, whatever. We did it. We got it. We are here. We are
Hello.
live.
Hello, everybody.
We did it.
I
Hey,
am Ross
everyone.
Watson. This is my co-host, Norn Queen Alexis, who is definitely not a heretic.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not at all. At all. Anyway.
Covering up her Slanesh tattoo. I love it, by the way. Those tattoos are cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the demon face in this one.
Ah.
And on the other arm, I'm finally gonna add, because this is fan art technically of Slanesh. Because Slanesh's artwork was only in like the Rogue Trader books that look horrendous. But I'm gonna get the 6 greater demons of Slanesh around here. And then I want to move on and do like Khorne next. And then go to the go from Khorne to Tzeentch, and then leave Nurgle off my body because that's gross.
You know what? I think that's absolutely fine. I thought about getting an Aquila tattooed on my shoulder at one point, but never got around to it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So today we are talking about Space Marines, the most iconic Warhammer 40k dude that exists.
And they are, unfortunately, they are all dudes, because some of the early lore said that only men could become Space Marines, and that has yet to be changed, which is kind of a bummer, because I think female Space Marines would be kind of awesome, but you know, it is what it is. They are all dudes.
Yep. Only men can receive the Emperor's Seed.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna go. We're gonna go some places today, folks. This is our third show for Lorebeards 40k, so we're feeling like we kind of got a handle on it, I think.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. So how are things in Iceland?
So it was -8 today, and it was brutally cold. That's Celsius, not Fahrenheit. And the roads were completely iced over. Cars were sliding everywhere. It was great. And tomorrow I have a Warhammer tournament, so I'm super excited.
All right. Well, it's not quite as cold as that here in Denver, but it is a little chilly. We do have snow on the ground, and we did Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, Thanksgiving just passed. It was lovely here. How was yours?
Very good. Lots of turkey, lots of mashed potatoes.
Oh yeah. I made
classics.
I made 10 kilograms of mashed potatoes, and I ate almost all of it, and it was great. And it took me 2 days. It was a big pot of mashed potatoes, and it took me so long to eat all of it. Good times.
But we're not here to talk about feasting as much as I like to feast, as much as I enjoy the holidays. We're going to talk about, as you said, the Space Marines. Who are the Space Marines? That's the question. Who are they?
That's the question.
But to all of our listeners and our fans, we want to say, in the grim darkness of the far future,
there is only lore.
That's right. Welcome to Lorebeards 40k. My name is Ross Watson.
I'm Norn Queen Alexis.
And we are the Lorebeards who are going to take you through today's topic.
I almost stuttered on my own name. Professionals.
Well, we've both been involved with 40k for a long time in a lot of different ways. Alexis is really great at cosplay stuff and the tabletop game rules, and she's in the Grand Tournament scene, and she paints miniatures professionally.
Yes.
So she's got a handle on all of that stuff. I am a writer and author and game designer for a ton of Warhammer 40k IP games, and have worked directly with Games Workshop in the past. So that's how we kind of know what we're talking about when it comes to everything 40k, the grim darkness of the far future. So
let's get right into it.
Yeah. So Alexis, what can you tell me, like, in the broadest sense about Space Marines?
Oh, okay. Space Marines are genetically enhanced superhumans that wear the thickest, most 80s armor you can imagine. They are gigantic, tall, big, and huge. They wield a gun that shoots a rapid fire grenade launcher that explodes after burrowing into armor, just for that added grim dark flair of blowing your opponent to pieces. They are so fundamental to 40K that if you take them out, there is no 40K.
It's like we were talking about with the our show last Wednesday about the what if the Emperor died. We're like, well, there goes the setting. Without Space Marines, yeah, it kind of there goes the setting. Like they are a foundational element of what makes 40K 40K. The Space Marines are pretty much the main protagonists of the setting.
And we want to get things really clear. They are not good guys. They are protagonists.
They are protagonists.
They do some atrocious things in the lore.
Some Space Marines do have heroic qualities. Some of them are morally, ethically good people. Some of them want, and their basic function as like the defenders of humanity. There are things to like and admire about Space Marines. They're not just. They are sometimes just weapons, basically dressed up in human flesh, but sometimes they can be more than that. And that's the times that really people kind of seem to latch onto. There's more Space Marine named characters than in any other faction.
Yep.
They actually outsold everything else for decades. The legend has it that the Tactical Space Marine Squad, just the box set of the Tactical Space Marine Squad, outsold everything in games in Warhammer Fantasy for a very long time. And I can tell you, I was told directly from Bigwigs Games Workshop that Space Marines outsold literally everything else they made, period, for a very, very, very long time. Now that may be changing. My information on that is 15 years old, and since
current sale trends in Games Workshop have shifted quite a bit, but Space Marines are still the number one seller because now they're in 2 games instead of 1.
Well, they've always been. I mean, they've been in a lot of different games over time. Like Space Hulk was a Space Marine game. Epic, they were big in Epic. They were part of Kill Team. So, but yeah, you're right. Like now, there's major game releases like the Horus. She's talking about the Horus Heresy tabletop game, which has a very thriving community and is essentially all Space Marines all the time, with a few minor exceptions.
There's me with my Solar Auxilia holding up the line.
Well, I'm not going to say that it's all Space Marines all the time, period, but it's mostly all Space
Marines. It's 99.8% Space Marine on Space Marine action.
That's right. So, there are Space Marines are also called Astartes or Adeptus Astartes, depending on the time, the timeline we're talking about. Go ahead.
This is definitely not because Games Workshop tried to get the copyright for Space Marine and failed.
They did.
Times.
They did in fact attempt to enforce a copyright on the word Space Marine. Unfortunately, I would argue, fortunately, it did not go well for Games Workshop in that case because it's just a weird thing to copyright.
They lost to Fox for that one because Fox owned Starship Troopers and Alien at the time.
My information is it was actually a lot smaller. It had to do with a novel called Spot the Space Marine.
Oh, that's funny as hell. Then
Spot's the Space Marine sold on Amazon, and this was 2012. So their book was published in 2012, and the attempt to copyright was 2013, and there was a lot of controversy about it, and I believe Games Workshop just kind of dropped the effort.
This was also the time of Chapter House and all of the other failed lawsuits that GW had. They don't have a good track record with that, so they just changed all the names, and that's why we have Eldari and Asiarni and
Urux and the Old World, stuff like that. Yeah. So
Astra Militarum is a big one,
right? The Imperial Guard, Astra Militarum. Yeah. So Space Marines have changed a lot over the years. They were in the very first edition of the game, which is called Rogue Trader, but back then, in the Rogue Trader book, Space Marines are kind of criminals and gangers. They have mohawks and wear sunglasses and have tattoos and are very clearly like scum of the galaxy in a lot of ways. That has changed considerably.
Some of my favorite art in Rogue Trader just has Space Marines with like hate and death written on them with like angry faces and like all of this silly stuff. And they weren't at the time, they weren't enhanced super soldiers. They were just dudes in suits.
Well, it also in the original Rogue Trader, there was a Space Marine, who was like half Eldar. He was a crossbreed.
Yep.
Anyway, suffice to say that that period did not last very long. Space Marines kind of became more of the warrior monks starting in second edition, and that the ideal of them as these kind of religious, almost pseudo religious beings, the warrior monk part, that has kind of been slowly receding a little bit over time in the lore. These days, Space Marines are far more like warrior angels.
Yeah, that just so happened to have like fortress monasteries. And it's like, yeah, the monastery, they still have that monk aesthetic, right? And it's like,
Not really.
not really. They descend from the sky upon fire and wings. They're more angelic deliverers of death, the literal angels of death.
Angels of Death is, in fact, the in-universe term that you might say when you're talking about Space Marines. Oh, the Angels of Death. It's the Space Marines. Yeah. Space Marines are transhuman. They are not human anymore. They are super soldiers that have been surgically and genetically enhanced from a young age to become these incredible elite fighters. They get a thing called hypno indoctrination that teaches them everything they need to know about their weapons and their gear, and also implants within them the Imperial creed and obedience and loyalty. Don't forget about that stuff. Which, by the way, did not happen until after the Horus Heresy. Pre-Heresy Marines have a lot more depth and vibrancy to their personalities.
There's a book where Nathaniel Garrow is talking to a Space Marine, and the Space Marine is talking about their family back home before they became a Space Marine. And it's really like it. I really like that lore, but I also love the lore that Space Marines are just psychopaths.
There is some lore that the White Scars create and live with families on Chigoris.
Yeah. What is it? The Space Wolves all adopt once their initiates pass their tests and everything, they're taken by like certain families to learn their culture and then join the Space Wolves and then pick a great company. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if they're allowed to pick their company, but it would be neat if they did.
It's more or less they test them to see what company they should go to.
Maybe that sounds more likely. So Space Marines have 19 different implants that give them pretty crazy abilities. They're incredibly strong, incredibly tough. They can survive in the depths of space. They can put themselves in suspended animation. They can spit acid. They can leave half their brain functioning to fall asleep and still be alert.
Fully conscious, yeah.
I mean, we're just scraping the barest surface of all these implants and what they can do.
They can grab somebody, eat their face, learn all of their memories.
Yeah, that is literally a thing that they can do.
Then spit it out and melt your tank shreds.
After the era Indomitus, we get a new type of Space Marine, the Primaris Space Marines, which are the new face of the franchise.
Yep, the 10th edition Space Marine. Well, they're 8th and up Space Marines. And
the Primaris, yeah.
They are stronger, better, and more Belisarius called than regular Space Marines. They can survive a straight up shot to the head, get half their brain blown away, and keep fighting. In fact, when Chaos Space Marines first encountered them, one, they deemed them heretical, which is coming from a Chaos Space Marine is amazing. And two, they didn't know how to kill them.
Yeah, Primaris Space Marines are stronger and tougher. They have 21 implants instead of 19. I believe it's 21, right?
It's 21, yeah.
Yeah. So that's just the basics of their body. Like they have special sockets that plug into their power armor that allow them to use the Space Marine power armor. quick comment from Mr. Mike on Dollar Grind Set. Angels are better than monks. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna
fully agree
quibble about that one. So Space Marines in general, they're created through this thing called the gene seed. The gene seed is the source of all the techno sorcery that kind of turns them from a regular person. And to be clear, this happens when you're like 12 to 13, very young adolescent boys. Get this gene seed implanted in them, and that helps create and build all their body up to become a full Space Marine. The gene seed is very important to the Space Marines chapter. The chapter is the organization that they belong to. Some chapters are very different. There's a lot of chapters that are very similar to each other, and then there's a lot of chapters that are very, very different than all those. But each chapter has its own distinct beliefs, traditions, values, and sometimes even like special gear or units, depending on which chapter it is. But the gene seed that we were talking about, those little there's a great animation called Space King where they talk about the holy globules. That's the gene seed. It's hilarious. But Space Marines are considered exceptional marksmen and hand-to-hand warriors. They are considered to be some of the most elite and effective soldiers in the entire setting. If you put an army of anything against an army of Space Marines, people out there are going to be like, ooh, Space Marines probably going to win. Like, they're just really good. They were created to fight and created to conquer and created to kill, and they're very good at those things. Yep. So, Alexis, how many? If you're a standard Imperial citizen toiling away on your agri world with your scythe, all day and all night,
pretty good. I got a scythe,
right? Have you ever seen a Space Marine? Do you even know what?
No. Space Marines are mythical creatures. They are something to be revered and holy. And if you ever to see one, you are to bow and kiss the ground that they walk on. Walking in a Space Marine's boot print is considered like holy. They are seen as both mythical angels. It would be the same thing as if like St. Michael were to come down to Earth and be like, hi, you would be like, oh, shoot. I thought you guys were fake. The reverence that Space Marines have with the Imperial citizens at large is that of reverence. They are to be feared as much as respected. Like, the average person can't stare at a Space Marine in the eyes. Like, they're just... It's a whole holy experience for them.
So yeah, the Space Marines are also like 7 feet tall. They are differently proportioned than humans. The chapter organization. The chapter is the most important organization for Space Marines in 40K.
So let's answer that. What is a chapter?
It is a group of Space Marines numbering roughly 1,000. The chapter typically has a home planet or a fleet if they're based on a fleet, and the chapter gives them, like I said, their identity. Like, you're not just a Space Marine of the Imperium. You are, I am a veteran sergeant of the Iron Snakes chapter, and the Iron Snakes chapter is what I live for and who I revere above all others. The chapter is their most important social group.
And chapters are broken down into 10 different companies, and each company serves a different role in the terms of how they deploy to war. There are several different groups within the chapter itself that do very different things. First company to third company are very good at like lightning strikes, getting into opponents like fortresses, strongholds as quickly as possible through deep strike or teleportation strike, and killing key leaders to end wars. Space Marines don't like prolonged war. They like hitting down, killing, and then letting the armies deal with everything else while they go to another active war zone.
Yeah, they don't hold ground real well. They're really good at decapitation strikes and shock assaults, and maybe prosecuting a siege. They're pretty, like, depending on how that all works. Space Marines typically, so chapters, we were talking about chapters are typically organized according to a book called the Codex Astartes. Not every Space Marine chapter follows this book, but most do.
I have to add this joke because it needs to be here. The Ultramarines follow the Codex Astartes to the letter. The Space Wolves look at the Codex Astartes and say, books make terrible weapons. The Black Templar look at the Codex Astartes and say, I can't read. I had to make the joke. But Space Marines themselves, when it comes to companies, they have to recruit thousands upon thousands of people. Typically, Space Marines tithe planets themselves to recruit from. And they do have recruitment worlds, and those planets' tithe is basically just their children. And children are abducted at very young ages to become Space Marines, like we said before. They're taught the culture of that specific chapter. Some chapters are very close and very tight-knit with their cultures. The Space Wolves and the Salamanders are very tight-knit with their cultures, where the Ultramarines sit a little bit higher up in the social ladder, but do socialize, but don't really like their people. But then you have chapters like the Imperial Fist that recruit off of Necromunda and several other worlds, and they just do not care about their people at all.
Yeah, there are, each chapter, as we said, are very individual, and some of them can be very different than the others. Some of them don't. This company organization she was talking about is only applies to Codex chapters. There's the first company, which is all the veterans, the most experienced and elite warriors. There's the 10th company, which is fully composed of scouts, the young Space Marines who are just earning their power armor on the way up.
They're in the process of becoming a Space Marine. They're like little baby Space Marines. And for some reason, Space Marines decide to put scouts in scouting roles where they go out front, you know, the future of their chapter, unarmored.
Listen, logic does not apply. Okay, let's be really clear. This is space fantasy. These guys are space paladins. Logic does not come into it. And even like standard military tactics like camouflage or taking cover, just not really things the Space Marines do. So with that being said, everything that we've talked about so far applies to the Imperial Space Marines. There is a whole other side to that coin. If you flip that coin over, you have what are called the Chaos Space Marines. And Chaos Space Marines began as Space Marines that rebelled against the Emperor 10,000 years ago. It was this big event called the Horus Heresy. Since then, they have been reinforced by regular Imperial Space Marines that have either fallen to chaos or have just decided that the Imperium is not worth protecting. They have been, the Chaos Space Marines have their own ways of gathering recruits, usually just coming to a planet, stealing as many people as possible, and putting them all through the process to see who survives.
I still love the Death Guard's way of recruiting, and it's so funny. They just unleash virus bombs upon planets, and those who survive the longest, they're like, yeah, we'll take you.
Well, the Death Guard are all about like being able to endure difficult and rough conditions. So that makes a lot of sense. So that's, let's, why don't we pause for a minute and look at some of our comments here. I like this one. The Genesis chapter follows the Codex better than the Ultramarines.
All right, listen, Leandros, calm your shit. We do have 2 super chats coming in, so let's get to those real quick.
All right. Benjamin Fraser 6654 says, here's €5 to sell me on Space Marines as someone who cringes at the Primarch mythos and would rather the Emperor's legions were just some guys.
I agree.
So sell you on Space Marines, you say? Well, they have the widest variety of gear, weapons, armor, unit types. It is literally, they have the biggest tool bag of all the factions in the setting. And hey, on top of that, Space Marines get multiple releases per year from Games Workshop. So if you go ahead.
They have 7 different models for a lieutenant. Do the Sisters of Battle Palatine have more than one model? No. Does any other army in the game have a lieutenant? No. Oh, actually, Necrons do, but that doesn't count.
So basically, if you can't find something you like from the Space Marine range, it is the biggest, widest, most complete range that Games Workshop has.
It's also the range that you can actually buy at your local stores, where a lot of other specialty characters and specialty units have to be direct bought from Games Workshop. And depending on where you live, that is very hard to get. Like here in Iceland, a lot of us just group together to make an order because it's cheaper for the import and everything here. So a lot of us don't actually buy the specialty units. Like for me, buying Age of Sigmar Seraphim, the Lizardmen, getting all of their characters is brutally difficult, and I just can't do it. So Space Marines are an army that you could just go to the store and buy everything for, except for like a few rare models. But GW is re-releasing all of their resin kits in plastic in the next few years. Aside from that, like Sisters of Battle are also really easy to get. But yeah, Space Marines are always there, always in stock, and you can always get more.
And you can homebrew them to an extent that most armies cannot.
Yeah, like Sisters of Battle are stuck in their ways of being like what they are, but Space Marines can be anything. I have a Space Marine chapter that's specially dedicated in rapid response and reinforcement. Like they drop down drop pods filled with gear that open up and just give the guard like all their weapons and everything, reload them and everything. The Dreadnoughts come walking in with packs all over them so that guardsmen can actually reload and restock and actually survive the battle. You can do a Space Marine chapter based on any mythology and all of human history. You can even make up your own. You can take something from sci-fi and just add it to 40K, and it fits the setting. Like you like Master Chief, cool. Here's a whole army of them. You like Starship Troopers, and you actually read the novels and not watch just the movies that are amazing. Well, the first movie that's amazing, the rest of them kind of suck.
Oh.
But you can make a Starship Troopers based army that are Space Marines, and a guard army that is Starship Troopers.
Side note: Starship Troopers 3 is actually pretty great. It's the one where they weaponize religion.
Yes, it is.
Would recommend that one.
Yeah.
As if you like Starship Troopers, check out Starship Troopers 3. Not bad. All right. Anyway, thank you, Benjamin Fraser.
And then we have one from Victor.
Hey, Victor. I've heard a theory that Games Workshop does not allow third-party chapters, i.e. Blood Ravens and Storm Wardens, to say who their Primarchs are. Is this true? It certainly was true. When I was making the Storm Wardens chapter, which would have been 2010, the Games Workshop told me specifically that any third-party chapter cannot know who its Primarch is. They don't know what the founding they're from. Those kinds of details cannot be detailed. Sorry, I was trying to find a better word to say the detail. Anyway, you can't say those things about your chapter. If you look back, you can look at the special chapter that Forge World made, the Red Scorpions. They follow the same pattern. Blood Ravens have the unknown Primarch. Storm Wardens don't know who they're from, who they're descended from. So all three of these, which are probably the most prominent third-party chapters that I'm aware of, they follow those rules. So yes, you are correct on that one, Victor.
Okay, and then I saw a comment that was pretty good.
Ooh, it's our friend Mike, like the microphone.
Yes.
Love the Primaris age, though, since now we have the ultimate funding and we can have more successor chapters, like for the Space Wolves. That is true. After the failure of the Wolf Brothers, they needed the Wolf Spear. The Wolf Spear is a really cool chapter. I have been doing some reading on the Wolf Spear. They are neat. I as a Space Wolf fan, I would absolutely make a Wolf Spear chapter group for an army because they're cool. They're very cool.
There always has been a Space Wolf successor chapter, but it fell to chaos.
Maybe.
Harkins Dark Wolves. They are a descendant of Space Wolves.
Maybe. So having said that, like there's the Imperial side of the coin and the Chaos side of the coin. There are guys who have gone back and forth. There's a group called the Soul Drinkers that have technically become Chaos Space Marines, but are not actually Chaos Space Marines. Yep. There's guys from chapters like the Dark Angels who have whole schisms within their chapter, and some guys are loyal and some are not. What's really interesting, one of the things I worked on was this concept called Black Shields for the Deathwatch role-playing game.
I love the Black Shields.
Yeah,
Captain Titus became a Black Shield.
That's
We're going to
true.
do a whole episode on him.
we could do a whole episode on Titus. We could do an episode on Black Shields in general, but basically there are some guys who could go join the Death Watch, and as long as they are investigated and found to be free of corruption and treachery, it doesn't really matter what they were before. They're now just a Black Shield Space Marine. But those are very much exceptions to the rule. Those are the fringe of the fringe of the fringe. 99% of all Space Marines, the chapter is everything to them, and they would never countenance anything that would go against their chapter's beliefs or traditions or values, typically. So it's the exceptions that are the ones that fall outside of that Venn diagram.
Okay, so shall we get back to it, or do we want to read a few more comments?
What would you like to do?
I think we get back to it and talk about the psychotic children that Space Marines recruit.
So, we will definitely do that. Space Marines started out, they were created for the Great Crusade, which happens in the year 30,000, around the year 30,000, when the Emperor decided to conquer most of the galaxy. And he did this by creating vast legions of Space Marines. This was called the first founding. Foundings are a moment in time when the Imperium creates a whole bunch of Space Marines all at once. They've done this over 30 times since over 10,000 years. We don't know how many times exactly, but we know there's been at least 30-ish. The most important of these foundings is the first founding, which takes place to launch the Great Crusade. The second founding, which is where we create the successor factors at the successor chapters after the Horus Heresy, and what's called the Ultima founding, which is the beginning of the Primaris Space Marines in more recent war. So the first founding was made to create the legions of Space Marines. Now we said a chapter is like 1,000, right? Legions of Space Marines were hundreds of thousands of Space Marines. They were huge, enormous organizations.
They were actual armies instead of specialists.
And it was not uncommon for a Space Marine in a legion to never even see his Primarch, even though Primarchs were walking around. So actually, we got to define that term. Alexis, what's a Primarch, and why is it important to Space Marines?
So a Primarch is okay. The mythology of a Primarch is that they're a demigod. Okay, they are a demigod. But the lore for a Primarch is that Erda, the Emperor, Astarte, and a few other magical alchemists and chemists and biologists got together and made 21 different Primarchs. And I am going to say 21 because I know how to count. Omegon is another person, not a single. Anyway, twins count as two people, damn it. But the Emperor created 21 different Primarchs, and each Primarch was supposed to specialize in a very particular field, whether that be magic, art, culture, or, well, whatever the various other chapters were to do. Like diplomacy was Horus's big thing.
Legions.
Yeah. But each of the Primarchs embodied that perfectly. And then each of their gene seed is drawn from their Primarch's genetics. And genetic memories are passed down through the Primarch itself to its own warriors. So a Primarch is not only a physical dude, but it's also the life force of their entire chapter. Like if their Primarch is just completely gone, like gone forever, all genetic material of them gone, that lineage just goes away.
The Primarchs have a great influence on the Space Marines created from their genetics, their gene seed. So if you look at the Dark Angels, which are one of my favorite chapters, they're descended from the gene seed of their Primarch, Lionel Johnson. And there's things about Lionel Johnson that are carry on to every Space Marine created from his gene seed. That is part of his legion or chapter. And this is true for
paranoia.
Some chapters. I'm going to highlight a comment here really quick because it was a really good one. Mike says some chapters may have more than one Primarch, the Carcharodons being a good example. Yes. So after the first founding, what were you saying?
They're hybrid chapters.
after the first founding, subsequent foundings sometimes used different gene seed or combined gene seed. Again, it's rare. The Carcharodons are not. The Carcharodons are one of those fringe edge cases. They do not represent like the majority of Space Marines. Most Space Marines know who their Primarch is. Most Space Marines have only one Primarch. In most chapters only are descended from one Primarch. The
Most
Ultramarines,
current chapters are Ultramarines.
yeah, Rabute Gulaman, the Primarch of the Ultramarines, it is said that roughly half of all Space Marine chapters are descended from him, or half his gene seed.
I think in the most recent tides they said 2/3.
It's a lot.
It's
a lot.
It's the bulk of them are Ultramarines.
So the legions of the Great Crusade, this is where we had the Horus Heresy, and half of those legions turned against the Emperor and tore the galaxy in half. It was incredibly nasty civil war of the Imperium, and it basically required 10,000 years to recover from that.
Oh, whoops, I clicked the wrong one.
Carcharodons, nice. Copy. Like it, nice. The other one about Papa Smurf being busy is also true. The Ultramarines often called Smurfs because their color is blue, and Papa Smurf is either Marines Calgar, the chapter master, or Rabute Gulaman, the Primarch.
Yep.
So the heresy was a big deal. And during the heresy, there was a special kind of Space Marine called the inductee. Inductee were Space Marines that were very.
They were rushed.
They were rapidly produced Space Marines. They didn't have all the time and effort and experience that a typical Space Marine might have, and they were organized into kind of little ad hoc groups within each of the legions. It's kind of a footnote from the heresy. They don't really show up anywhere else other than the heresy inductee. But Alexis wanted to make sure we mentioned him. So
I did, and I also want to reference the like almost Space Marine characters that become Space Marines, where they don't have all of the implants, but they are Space Marines. The most famous one fought Lion, Luther of the Dark Angels.
Yeah, so during the heresy, you could it didn't. How do I put this? The process of becoming a Space Marine works best on young adolescent men. Okay, so 12 to 13, boys of 12 to 13. During the heresy, however, there were several older men who went through the process to become Space Marines. Corferon, the adoptive father of Lorgar, is one of them. Luther of the Dark Angels is another one.
There's another big one that I'm completely forgetting.
Magistus Aemon of the Thousand Sons was the adoptive. He was the tutor of Magnus. He also became a Space Marine. So it was common. It wasn't common, but it happened to like.
It happened enough that we should mention it.
Right. So only during the Horus Heresy, when they had all the time and resources to do this, could they take an older male and turn them into a Space Marine. So after the Horus Heresy, which was again this massive galaxy splitting civil war, which caused all kinds of trouble, one of the survivors was Rabute Gulaman, the Primarch of the Ultramarines, and he wrote a book called the Codex Astartes and said, we are not going to have hundreds of thousands of Space Marines anymore because that was a bad idea. We're not going to have the entire Imperium's military organized into like one silo, which it was. Mm-hmm. We're gonna split up the Imperial Army into the Imperial Navy and the Astra Militarum. We're gonna split that up so that no group has more power than one or the other, and we're gonna split up all the Space Marines down to 1,000 men chapters. That's when this event occurred to change the legions into the chapters. Was this time from the Codex Astartes?
Most of the Primarchs were not on board and had to be talked into it.
Well, the heresy being a very recent event, and no one was really excited to repeat that. And so the Codex Astartes seemed like a tool that might stop, from happening again.
And I'll just say it right now, they definitely didn't have a plan to reform their legions at all. Definitely not the Dark Angels and the Imperial Fist. Totally did not have a way of reforming their legion.
Or Space Wolves.
Yeah. You go crazy talk right now.
So it's been mentioned in the comments a couple times, but the specifically the Black Templars and the Space Wolves both were chapters that had more than 1,000 Space Marines, well over 1,000.
Yep.
Some estimates of the Space Wolves put it around 12,000 to 20,000, and the Black Templars are somewhere around 8 or 9,000 Space Marines, depending on how you count the Crusades.
Current estimates of the Black Templar using the most recent lore puts them at about 6,000, and for Space Wolves puts them at maybe 2,000 because they died so much.
They got hammered pretty hard in the most recent lore. So
the Dark Angels and Magnus did a number on them, and then the Battle for Cadia almost did them in.
So some chapters have grown and shrank over the years, but the two that were the most egregiously large were now you can't argue that the Ultramarines, because they can call on all their successor chapters. You can argue that they're anyway.
That's getting off topic, but we could talk about how Guilliman had the Gray Shields or whatever they were called. The Primaris Marines that weren't assigned to chapters yet, and they numbered as big as a legion.
Right, but that was the Ultima Founding. So
yeah, that was an oopsie daisy.
So the Era Indomitus, the new version, the new hotness of 40K, we get the Primaris Marines. So the Primaris Marines are from the Ultima Founding, which is what Alexis was literally just talking about with the Gray Shields, this massive Legion-sized force of Space Marines that was created by Belisarius Cawl and given to Guilliman as hey, here's a huge army for you. And Guilliman went around during the Indomitus Crusade to spread the Primaris out to the other chapters of Space Marines so that every chapter can have Primaris Space Marines now.
Yep.
So what does that mean for the non-Primaris Space Marines? Well, they're called the Firstborn. Alexis, tell us about the Firstborn and what's going on with them. And
okay, so from a tabletop perspective, Firstborn Marines are almost all removed. The only ones that are still really used out of the Firstborn Marines are kind of the Centurions, and that's really it. But Games Workshop, as a company, has been slowly moving away from regular Marines and hasn't created a new regular Marine that isn't in scale with Primaris or wearing the armor of Primaris Marines. Some of them do have mixed armor. I know they did that with the Black Templar and the Sword Brethren squad, where they had mixed armor types, but they pretty much are are Primaris Marines. They are slowly killing off the Firstborn Marines. And those that now the lore for it is that the Primaris Marines are the new replacement, and you can go through the Rubricae Primaris to become Rubicon Primaris to become a Primaris Space Marine. And if you are a named character, you have a 99% success rate. If you are not, oh no, a lot of you died. But it has now become a bit more stable in the lore as they move more into the future. But it still has risks unless you're named. But we are slowly seeing GW switch from Baby Marines, which is what they're nicknamed is, to Primaris Space Marines.
Great comment from Rothian Fairmoon. Lord,
hey, Roth.
Side note, but I wonder how often Guilliman wishes his mom was still around. Very often, and she was absolutely one of the best characters of Horus Heresy.
Yes,
Guilliman's mom is awesome.
Guilliman is absolutely amazing. I love her.
So yeah, that's the Firstborn are kind of going away. However, if you really like the Firstborn, you like the lore about the Firstborn and how they look and all the cool stuff that they get, because they do function in a lot of different ways. They're actually a lot more what's the word I'm looking for here? Primaris are more specialized, whereas Firstborn were more generalized, generally speaking.
Yep. Like a tactical squad was a general squad versus a intercessor squad, which is a specialized anti-infantry unit.
And if you want to play with Firstborn, you can. There's a whole game out there called Horus Heresy, which is all about Firstborn fighting Firstborn.
They're also almost in the Primaris scale.
Well, some of them are for sure, because there were larger than life guys. Horus Heresy is a lot of way to think about it is kind of like the Trojan War where you have Ulysses and Ajax and Achilles, all those really cool, big,
Mm-hmm.
mythic dudes. That's the Horus Heresy. Just add in a whole bunch of like King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table, and treachery, and like, a lot of Shakespearean level of emotion into it, and you get the Horus Heresy.
And daddy issues. Don't forget the daddy issues.
Yeah, so many daddy issues. We will cover the Horus Heresy in a lot more detail in the future.
That's going to require multiple.
Oh, for sure. Well, this episode right here may be a part 1. To be really clear.
Yes.
So let's talk about the basic ranks of Space Marines. And for this, I'm going to be focusing on the Firstborn and their rank structure, but it is very, very similar to the Primaris rank structure.
If I had the time and the musical talent of Yakko Warner, I would do a whole song for all of the different specialists.
That would be cool.
I kind of want to do that now.
God, that'd be hilarious. I love it.
Satyrians. Esoterics. God, I could actually do that. I could actually get that to rhyme.
I bet you could.
Oh,
okay. So Alexis, if you're on your Agra worlds and you're a young man, 12.
Well, that's confusing with these, but continue.
Sure. but if you're on your Agra world and you're a young man and you get picked up by Space Marines and taken to the training yards where you will potentially become one of them, you are what's called an aspirant.
Yep.
Aspirants are they are still human. They have no implants, no surgical or genetic enhancements. And they are usually put through a extremely grueling training regimen to weed out any who are not fit to be Space Marines. And it can be very Mad Max. It can be very bloody. It can also be very structured. It depends on which chapter is doing it and which world they're from. If you
get picked up by the Ultramarines, it's actually just the Olympics, which is really cool. It's like a brutal version of the Olympics that lasts like a week, but it's really cool. If you're a Space Wolf, they kind of just throw you out and go, okay, hunt something big. And you just kind of have to come back with a dead animal and be like, I did it. But other chapters like the Imperial Fist, one of my favorite chapters for recruiting. Not my favorite chapter because they're boring as hell, but they recruit psychopaths. Like I'm talking, they recruit people who are murderers and they recruit their children. And that's the children that they want. So they allow like necromundant gangs to run as rampant as they can. And then every now and then they just come down, go through the Underhive and just collect children and then go back up to their ships and make them to Space Marines. It's awesome.
So to be clear, the necromunda connection is one that's been less and less and less over time. And that may be, I would expect that to be kind of retconned or just ignored for a lot.
I hate that it's still in the current codex though. They constantly mention necromunda.
Well, if it's in the current codex, then it's definitely happening. It's definitely canon, but
it's a side note. It's not like their main world anymore.
If I may, the Imperial Fists are fascinating in the Heresy.
Yes,
there's
they are.
So much cool stuff going on with the Fists in the Heresy. I agree that the current era Fists are not especially exciting, but you go back to Horus Heresy and there's just a ton of really cool stuff, including a religious schism because that's when the Black Templars are formed. Anyway, it's kind of awesome. So yeah, the Fists so chapters that are boring in one may be actually really interesting in the other, and vice versa.
Yep, very true, very true. I absolutely love Rogel Dorn as a character in the Heresy, but the current Fists, I do not care.
The named characters in the Heresy are also more interesting to you. You got Sigismund and a few other guys. Anyway, I will fanboy out over the Imperial Fists and the Heresy. So let's say you're an aspirant and you have survived. You survived your trials, and now they put you through the process to start becoming a Space Marine. You get some of the implants. You get some of the genetic upgrades. The one thing you definitely do not get is called the Black Carapace, which is the interface between you and power armor.
Yeah, the thing that's put just under your skin that's also completely bulletproof, and is like it connects directly to your nervous system, so that when you move, when you think of moving, your armor moves. That's why Space Marines have superhuman reactions, is because they go as fast as thought versus as fast as we think, move, and go. They immediately go. It's really cool.
They're very highly tuned. But at this stage, when you do not have the black hair, when you do not have not yet earned your power armor, is the best way to put it, you are called an initiate. Initiates or neophytes, depending on the chapter. But initiates make up the scout company, the 10th company. You are what's called the Space Marine Scout at that point.
Now, cool thing about the 10th company is they technically don't count towards like the Marine cap, so there could be entire planets filled with scouts. And this is a big thing in the Dawn of War books. Like one of their planets that is all just initiates gets attacked by Tyranids. It's great. I love it.
So, well, initiates are not full battle brothers, and there's a lot of people believe, and I tend to be one of them, that when the Codex Astartes says you can only have 1,000 Space Marines, they're talking about battle brothers, not initiates.
They're also not talking about dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts count as vehicles.
Well, we'll talk about dreadnoughts in a second. So initiates earn their power armor through serving as a scout over a period of time, and when they are judged worthy, they are given the final process and are now elevated to what's called a battle brother. Battle brothers are your standard line Space Marine. They have all the stuff, they have all the training, they have all the gear.
They're basically a jack of all trade. They can be given different types of special weapons. Most of your weapons as a Space Marine are going to be able to kill other Space Marines, but they're not exactly like your super heavy weapons yet. You have to join different companies to get those.
Here's a comment I have to read. Provoked Coffee says, now, Alexis, it's not polite to call your elders vehicles.
At least I didn't call them a vegetable. Also, bless her. He'll know what that is, because that's the only little Icelandic I know. But anyway, so it's over.
Battle brothers who survive and do well eventually become veterans. Veterans are your most skilled and your most experienced Space Marines. They are often organized into the first company, but some of them also become sergeants for individual squads. You can even have veteran sergeants, which are even more experienced veterans who are veteran. They're the sergeant of a veteran squad usually, or just like a really experienced sergeant. And above them, you have lieutenants or lieutenants. If you are,
I always say lieutenants because I'm correct.
Well, it's the UK, so lieutenant is technically correct. And then captains are in charge of companies. So like the 10th company is led by a captain. The 9th company is led by a captain. And then you have the chapter master. The chapter master is the overall commander of the chapter. He is the guy whose word is law. Like he says, jump, everybody says how high.
No, they don't say anything. They just jump as high as they can. If you say anything, a chaplain's coming after you.
Are there any... here's a great comment. Mike says the fists carried the heresy. In a lot of ways, they did. Siege Terror, baby.
I don't know. I would completely agree with that, but I'm disagreeing with it on principle.
Professor Shapp says, I agree. Imperial Fists are boring, says me, an Iron Warrior fan. Iron Warriors and Imperial Fists have a rivalry that is for the ages. So, do we have any super chats to read?
Not yet. Wait, actually, we just got the one. Nope,
okay.
Two. One from over. What
Provoked Coffee says, what most chapters don't know is I am their founder. Oh, wow. Well, good to meet you, sir. Welcome.
You know what the best part is? This person is a friend of mine in real life. His name is Oliver. He's great, and I absolutely love him.
Well, thanks for chiming in. I do appreciate it.
The best part is in every Space Marine book, I can find his name.
All right, and we have Kurenshima 3912 What are the chances Games Workshop will reveal there's some fatal flaw in Primaris designs in the future to shake up the setting like when Primarchs returned?
They already did.
Well, okay, so this goes to the idea that there is flaws in some of the gene seed of the Space Marines. The Space Wolves have a distinct flaw called the Canis Helix. The Blood Angels have a distinct flaw. The Imperial Fists have a flaw in their gene seed. Like a lot of Space Marine chapters have non-perfect gene seed.
I feel bad for that Imperial Fist, like fatal flaw where they die completely in every single battle. It is a terrible flaw that they need to fix.
Now sometimes these flaws can be really interesting. Like the Space Wolves flaw and the Blood Angels flaw is actually like one of the most defining traits of those chapters. And when the Primaris Marines were initially created in the Ultima Founding and started out in the Indomitus Crusade, it was believed that those flaws had been erased, that Call had managed to fix it. However, that belief was incorrect. It turns out that even Primaris Space Marines have the same genetic flaws as the standard Space Marine chapters.
There is a quote from Belisarius Call stating that those flaws were not flaws to begin with. They were something that the Emperor put in there.
If you believe Call, then that makes sense. Honestly, I tend to believe he's maybe speaking the truth here, because if anybody knows what the hell he's talking about when it comes to Primaris Space Marines, it would be Belisarius Call.
Yeah.
Not a bug, but a feature, as Professor Schnapp says. So going back to this comment though, really quick, what are the chances that they'll reveal there's some fatal flaw?
They already have Marines for the tabletop game that have the Red Thirst. Like, just flat out, the Black Rage and the Red Thirst for Blood Angels are already Primaris Marines that have fallen to it. And we do know that for the Space Wolves, new Wolfen are appearing. And they're not from the cursed company. So, what's happening?
Wolfen can happen to any Space Wolf, to be really clear. It doesn't it's not required that they be from the 13th company.
Yeah, but that's where the bulk of them came from originally.
Well, yes, and we can talk about why that is, and we will talk about why that is when we get into it. But as far as this guy's question about the Primaris, like some big change, like when the Primarchs returned, it's certainly possible. I don't think anybody was expecting it when in 2018 when Guilliman returned and they did the whole, hey, Primaris Space Marines. It could happen. It has already happened. So,
and they definitely did not just retcon Belisarius Call into the heresy with this plan in motion to sell us on Primaris Space Marines. That was definitely not what Games Workshop did. It was totally not. And it definitely, Belisarius Call definitely should not have been Arkan Land. Just say it.
So Arkan Land is a guy we will definitely be talking about as well at some point. He's a very interesting dude. And Call. Actually, Call is a pretty interesting guy on his own. So those are we've gone over the basic ranks of Space Marines. Let's talk about some of their special ranks. There's the chaplains. Chaplains are guys that wear skulls or bones on their armor to kind of emphasize their role as the keeper of the rites and traditions and beliefs of the chapter. They induct new Space Marines into the chapter. They're kind of the master of ceremonies, if you will.
They also watch for any sign that you might be corrupted.
That's true, but it's more of a spiritual, and it's more in the spiritual sense than a physical sense, because the ones that watch out for your physical purity are the apothecaries. They're not really medics, although they have some medical training. Their primary role of an apothecary is to ensure that the gene seed of the chapter remains pure, and B, to recover the gene seed from fallen Space Marines, because the only way to make new Space Marines is to use the gene seed or the progenoid glands, the holy globules of dead Space Marines. So if Space Marine falls in battle, the primary function of the apothecary is not to heal him and get him back into the battle. It's to take out the gene seed so that more Space Marines may be made.
Now, for the tabletop game itself, Apothecaries do revive a Space Marine every one of your turns, which is super neat. Or they give them lethal hits for some reason. I don't understand that one. I guess he just points and goes, hey, hit him in the kneecap. But a chaplain. Chaplains are really cool because they're essentially cheerleaders.
Well,
they give you +1 to hit, and they wave their little pom-poms.
They are very good at stirring up the martial spirit of Space Marines. So,
jokes aside, they do give you the right of hatred and teach you the holy hate to completely hate your enemy to the point that it frenzies you up. And in game terms, it does actually allow you to reroll to hit, and it's super cool. I absolutely love chaplains. I hate that 3rd edition Heresy made them completely useless.
Chaplains are very cool. Some chapters revere them in different ways. The Black Templars, for example, they're big. Like their biggest named character is
Chaplain Grimaldus.
Chaplain Grimaldus, him and Helbrecht. So
yep.
Out of the 2 named characters of Black Templars, one of them is a chaplain, and that's because the Templars are very, very religious. Mm-hmm. So there's also librarians. Now, librarian is not there to help you check out books. Librarian is not there to increase your education. A Space Marine librarian, they are called librarians because they are the keepers of the tomes, the records, and the information of the chapter's history, as well as being the chief psychic, the chief psyker. You know, the guy in charge of all the psychically active Space Marines is the librarian. They are also the keepers of the most obscure lore. They are the ones that know all the hidden secrets and details.
Unless you're a Dark Angel.
Dark Angels are very special in a lot of ways.
Yes, they are very special little scared boys, and I love them. One thing that's cool about librarians is there is a chapter that specializes in librarians called the Blood Ravens. And you guys might know these from video games, but they actually have tabletop lore now, and it makes me super happy. Last edition, they actually had a Space Marine faction like set of rules, and it was pretty bad, but it came with some really cool lore to justify like what they did and why they have so many librarians. If you don't know, aside from the Grey Knights, the Blood Ravens have the most librarians out of every chapter. Grey Knights have the most because every one of them is a psyker, where the Blood Ravens now train other chapters' psykers because they're so specialized in it. And this is mentioned a little bit in the Psychic Awakening books, which is super cool, and I absolutely love it. But one of the cool things is that when they do this little exchange for training their psykers, the chapter that gets their psyker trained gives up a relic from their chapter to the Blood Ravens, and this is a reference to them stealing a whole bunch of different chapter relics,
which is a meme that I happen to love. Hippity hoppity, it's now Blood Ravens property.
Yeah. But I do love the Blood Ravens. I think they're one of my favorite like actual chapters. Also Cyrus, let's go Cyrus. Like, yes.
Cyrus rocks. Blood Ravens are very cool. They're the whole point of librarians being a thing in Space Marine chapters comes from this really important moment in the Horus Heresy called the Council of Nicaea. We will get into it. It's fascinating. It's the only order the Emperor ever gave directly to his Primarchs that they ignored. It's pretty wild. Yes. It's pretty wild. It gets crazy. But the librarians are important because psychic powers are one of the best ways to fight demons. So
yep, they are very specialized and very good at killing demons.
And then there's the Tech Marines. Tech Marines are the guys that keep everything working. They're the maintenance guys. They're the armorers. They're the vehicle repair guys. They're the ones who teach everybody how technology works, or well, not teach, but you know what I'm saying. They assist in the repair and maintenance of all the technology that's required of Space Marines, which is a lot. Tech
They're
Marines,
also the ones that'll
very
give
busy
you
boys.
cybernetics.
Depends on. It can happen from them, but it is also an apothecary thing too. So
Yeah, but it's like it's a joint effort for them because the apothecaries don't fully understand the technology to do it, and then the tech marine has to come in and be like, actually,
Yeah,
they just
yeah, it can be. Certain chapters like the Iron Hands use their commanders are basically tech marines, the
Yep.
Iron Fathers. So certain chapters are more into tech marines than others. Tech marines are special because they are sent to Mars to study under the tech priests of Mars before they return to their chapter. So tech marines are also kind of looked at a little bit as an outsider in their own chapter because they are seen as having some loyalty to Mars, even though that's not really like the tech marines are still very loyal to the chapter. It's just
they're
they're
just not invited to the cookouts.
they well, they're the last guy picked for the dodgeball team.
But there is a very, very good animation of a tech marine and a dreadnought that'll make you cry on Warhammer TV. Highly recommend it. It's the Blood Angels one, and it is a scene that it made me tear up a bit.
Dreadnought is also a special rank that we should talk about because Dreadnoughts are awesome. Alexis, tell us all about Space Marine Dreadnoughts.
So, have you ever died in battle, but you still wanted to fight on? Well, you're in luck, friend. We could stick you inside this metal box that's slowly killing you and driving you insane and makes you prone to demonic possession, but you could kill the enemies of the Imperium in the future inside a Dreadnought. Dreadnoughts come in several different varieties, but for this video, we're just going to talk about like the simple ones, which is the Ballistus, the Redemptor, and the Brutalis. We will do a whole video on all of the Dreadnoughts, including the Boxnauts, the Castafarum, and all of the others.
But Boxnauts are Castafarum. That's
what I meant.
Yeah.
But a Dreadnought is a veteran of the chapter, somebody who is revered, who wants to keep fighting, and is kept alive for thousands of years, usually in cold storage, and brought out every few hundred years to fight or spread wisdom of their, like what they've gone through, to the chapter. They are a gigantic killing machine, armed with some of the best weapons and tank armor that a chapter has. They are just my favorite vehicle in all of 40K is a Dreadnought. They are so cool.
If you're a Space Marine and on the battlefield you get mortally wounded, and the apothecary walks up to you and he's like, "I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. You're just gonna die." Most of the time, that is what happens. The guy just dies. Get in the Dreadnought, Shinji. Thank you. Love that meme. So most of the time, a mortally wounded Space Marine just dies. But if you are a real Chad, like let's say you got mortally wounded after having been a veteran sergeant who led many, many great assaults, and after you defeated a Chaos Lord in single combat, you got mortally wounded, and the apothecary's like, "There's nothing I can do for you." Instead of letting you die, that's when they put you in the sarcophagus and say, "Okay, you're too important. You're too important to the chapter to just let you die." The sarcophagus is this casket of techno sorcery that wires up whatever's left of your body and brain into.
I wonder if I just have one sitting next to me for some reason.
Into the metal body of the Dreadnought. So you are essentially RoboCopped into a Dreadnought. You can think of it a lot like RoboCop, like Murphy was just blown away, and all that was left they put into the RoboCop suit. That's essentially what Dreadnoughts are. But they're also walking tanks. A single Dreadnought is so strong and so well armed, so difficult to kill that they become kind of like a siege engine of their own. Like you could have a fallback position that is just a Dreadnought that will hold the line because they're that tough and that strong.
I don't think I have a Dreadnought just sitting here with my Space Marine army.
Provoked Coffee says, "Healthcare denied. You are getting the Dreadnought plan."
Yes.
Every chapter of Space Marines has Dreadnoughts. Even the Custodes have Dreadnoughts.
The Telemon and the
the other
what is
one.
the other one? It starts with a C. I know them both.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but they have every chapter has
Contemptor. Thank you, Brain.
No, Contemptor is different.
They have Contemptors.
Right, but the Heresy
They
era,
have the Contemptor Achilles and the Contemptor Gladius
right,
Dreadnoughts and the Telemann Heavy Dreadnought.
right. Those are, to be clear, those are special versions of the Contemptor. Because the Contemptor was the dreadnought used in the Horus Heresy.
Yep.
One of the dreadnoughts, because in the Horus Heresy they had Contemptors, Leviathans, and Derrideos,
And Saturnines.
And Saturnines,
and Castiferum.
and Castiferum, and so.
And the Derrideo. No, you already said the Derrideo.
I did say the Derrideo.
There's 6 dreadnoughts. What are the 6 dreadnoughts? Yeah.
There's a lot of them. Chaos Space Marine dreadnoughts are even worse than a standard Chaos Space Marine. Those poor guys are tortured 99% of the time they're awake. They're just like, ah! They're sitting in their sarcophagus screaming in pain and terror. I
think you mean pleasure and ecstasy.
Depending on the
makeup some of them aren't that bad.
Yeah. So dreadnoughts are usually kept in stasis, like Alexis said. They're not just walking around on board the strike cruiser. Hey, how's it going? You ready for the next battle? No, they are kept in a special area. They're called ancients. When you become a dreadnought, you become what's called an ancient of the chapter, and that is, like Alexis said, they come to you for wisdom. They will wake you up for like, hey, we have this weighty matter that we're not sure how to resolve. Can you lend some of your perspective to this?
In fact, there's actually a book that includes this, where Bjorn the Fell-Handed is woken to deal with the Inquisition, and he hits on the Inquisitor, and it's a great scene. But Bjorn the Fell-Handed, who is a legendary Space Marine who fought alongside Leman Russ, the Primarch, when he fell, he became a dreadnought, and he is probably the oldest dreadnought in existence at the moment, because he is over 10,000 years old, and he has been awoken to lead the entire chapter multiple times. Each time a chapter master dies, and before they name a new chapter master, they just wake Bjorn up, and then Bjorn gets woken up to tell stories sometimes, and keeps getting woken up.
The other absolute Chad of a dreadnought is ancient Rylanor of the Emperor's Children.
Yes.
Check him out if you're curious. I'm not going to go into it here because this episode would be all about dreadnoughts then.
Yes. We can't just do a whole thing about dreadnoughts.
So that's
a whole other episode.
There's so many special ranks. There's tons and tons and tons of special ranks of Space Marines. There's the Master of Recruits. There's the Master of the Watch. We're not going to get it.
Ships.
Yeah, there's tons of them. I don't want to get into, because those can change depending on chapter as well. So there's just a ton of them. But let's look at some super chats if there's more to look at.
Alrighty. So we got wait, I think we answered that one. So this one's a buddy of mine.
Testing. Hooligan Mulligan, love the name. Thank you, sir. Testing. Is this mic on? Yes. Hello, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Hooligan Mulligan, and again, thank you. Demons casting messages through the warp. We've been trying to reach you regarding your Dreadnoughts extended warranty. Very good. Very funny. I like that one. Ricky Chapman, 3377. Thank you, sir. We've played tabletop role-playing game campaign during the Heresy. It was a brutal tragedy. It embodied the horror of 30K. Rip Sergeant Corvick of the Thousand Sons. You tried. Thousand Sons in the Heresy are fascinating. They're awesome. And the Heresy era is a beautiful one to role-play in. And I actually, before I left working on Wrath of Glory, I had a proposal for what a Horus Heresy roleplay game would look like. And one of the major aspects of it was deciding how your character started out at the beginning of the Heresy and how their perspective changed, and whether you thought the Heresy was a tragedy, or whether you thought it was righteous, or whether you thought it was
righteous.
It was all about like how your character saw history unfolding before them, and what that would change in their perspective of the Imperium and where the Imperium should go from here. So yeah, the Heresy era is great for tabletop role-playing games. Thank you.
Absolutely is. I love the Heresy. That was it, unfortunately. If you guys want to support the channel and support Lorebeards and what we do here, please use the super chat feature. It does help us out quite a bit. Yeah.
If you like what we do and you want to see more, Super Chat is the best way to make sure that you get more Lorebeards 40K content. Thank you guys. We do definitely appreciate everybody being here today. Mike says Horus Heresy official roleplay game. It will happen one day. I have no doubt. I'm
guaranteed.
It will not be I will not be involved. I can tell you that, but it is very likely it will happen.
I'm still annoyed that I don't have a Dreadnought sitting next to me. I have my entire Space Marine 30K army except my Dreadnought box.
I could go grab my Leviathan, but
it's bugging me. I know I have like 2 on the shelf over there and 1 in the closet, but a Dreadnought in the closet, so it's never too late to come out.
Actually, this would be a good point to talk a little bit, just briefly, about Space Marines and procreation.
They can't.
So it's more of a factor that they don't want to. Those urges are usually burned out by chemicals and by the effects of the process of becoming a Space Marine. Kind of gets rid of a lot of those particular reproductive urges in the person's body. As far as I'm aware, and everything that I've been told and understand about Space Marines, they're capable, but it doesn't matter because they can't pass on the gene seed that way. It would just be if a Space Marine has a kid with a person with a woman, it would just be a regular human child. That's my understanding.
There is Lucas the Trickster. He's been trying for years.
Lucas is a special guy. He's a special guy. But
that's still one of my favorite lines because this is right on the topic. It is in a Space Wolf novel. I cannot remember the name of it right now, and I am sorry. But it's right after a big battle, and Logan Grimnar mentions that he needs more recruits, and it's a Gathorpe book. The woman talking to him says, you could take the sons and daughters of Fenris, and he says the sons will do. And then it's casually mentioned that Lucas will be unleashed upon the planet again.
Well, to be clear, some Chaos Space Marines are very much down with procreation, but
yeah, they're called the Emperor's Children.
That is a very special case, to be really clear. According to some of the older lore, the White Scars actually have entire family units on Chagoras that they run around with. So it's mostly a case that they're just not interested, rather than they're not capable.
There's also a novel that's I've read it in an Ultramarine omnibus. I can't remember what the story was, but a Ultramarine noble is hitting on an Ultramarine, and
I do know this one. I know this one.
She's really trying, and he's just like, "What is this person doing?"
Yeah, he's very confused about the
I don't know what you want. Can you go away? Am I supposed to talk to them? Is this what the chapter master wants? It's a really funny scene, and it's like super awkward, and I love it.
But so by and large, the majority of Space Marines, it's just not something they think about or are interested in.
Oh, Roth says this, and I absolutely love this.
Lorebeards, despite all the improvements of the Redemptor Dreadnought kit, I still prefer the classic Castaferum. It's Castaferum, not kit. Waddle box for the win.
I 100% agree. I just want the Castaferum blown up to the size of a Redemptor, and I'd be happy.
I mean, we should have a tier list video on the best Dreadnought for sure, because that would be awesome. For me, like, I'm going to put Leviathans and Contemptors near the top of my list. I just love the way they look. Castaferum are fine. I just don't like the coffee bean Dreadnought from the early Rogue Trader days. That's the one I really don't like.
I love that one. I have multiples of those.
Well, good for you, because I don't like them.
I also maybe own 11 to 12 Dreadnoughts, but
So Dreadnoughts are awesome, but we have to talk about more things than Dreadnoughts today, unfortunately.
Oh, I guess so.
So when Space Marines go to war, Alexis, what is the typical manner of Space Marines going to war?
Well, they hide in metal boxes.
Dawn of War joke. Love it.
No, Space Marines typically like 3 styles of war, which is rapid assault, drop pod assault, or teleportation strikes on ships. Space Marines typically like to assist in battles versus start battles themselves, They need the assistance of the Navy if they're doing any type of naval combat, like with their spaceships, because Space Marines kind of suck at naval combat. The Imperial fleets are too tuned out to destroy them too easily. But Space Marines like going to active war zones and just ending the battle as quickly as possible. They are this, yeah.
If I may point out, they typically, Space Marines are not great at void combat, but it's worth pointing out that some of the strongest vessels in the Imperium's fleets are Space Marine ships, like the Phalanx or the Gloriana class battleships that the Primarchs run around in.
The Phalanx is a space station. It does count, I will give you that, but it is definitely not built with the intention of being a Space Marine vessel.
So some Space Marine chapters are a little bit better at void. Some Space Marine chapters are a little bit better at void combat than others. Surprisingly, perhaps the Alpha Legion does very good in void combat. So
same with the Blood Angels; they prefer void combat.
And Imperial Fists early on, that was their MO, was boarding enemy vessels. So
yep,
it happens. But anyway, usually what happens is the Space Marines like to fight on the ground. They don't like to fight in orbit. They're just better at ground combat than anything else. And so what they'll do is they will board these things called drop pods, which are these single-use vehicles that detach from a ship in orbit, rocket down towards the planet at top speed, crash into the ground, and all the doors just drop open. Space Marines pop their harnesses and walk out. And it can be extremely effective as a shock assault tactic, because a lot of people are just not used to the idea of 50 drop pods slamming down into the ground, and in seconds, and in a matter of minutes, you're facing up to like a company of Space Marines all at the same time. Mm-hmm. They also use a vehicle called the Thunderhawk, which is their usual orbital transporter. It's a gunship that can transport tanks, guys, and dreadnoughts down from orbit to a specific site on the planet. And like Alexis said, they also use teleportation. If you are, there you go, Storm Raven. No,
this is a Storm Eagle.
Storm Eagle, yeah.
These things accompany the Thunderhawk when they make their ground assaults.
During the Heresy, they did.
Yeah. Nowadays, they're rare. The Storm Raven took that over, and the Storm Raven is also accompanied by a escort of Storm Talons. Yeah, the Space Marines actually. Yeah, Space Marines, weirdly enough, have a really good Air Force.
They do. They have a surprisingly robust amount of flying vehicles. Their tanks are also amazing. They have shitloads of tanks, and some of those tanks are so cool. I long for the day when we have just like World of Tanks, but it's all 40K tanks. All 40K tanks all the time. Would love it.
This whole box is tanks.
Yeah.
I currently own 47 Space Marine vehicles.
Only 47.
Only 47. I'm getting my third Spartan very soon.
Oh, Spartans are the best. Oh, I love Spartans.
Yep.
They're a pain in the butt to put together, but so cool.
Yep. But Space Marines, when it comes to ground combat, when it comes to their vehicles are not good at long-range combat. Even their las cannon Predators are only a mid-range tank. They are light vehicles, usually, except for they now have the Repulsor Executioner, which is a heavy tank. But typically their heavier tanks are heavy transports so that they can get their guys as quickly to the objective as possible to take it, where the Repulsor Executioner is their only real heavy tank.
Don't forget the Astraeus.
The Astraeus is a rare case even now. It is a heavy tank. It is a flying heavy tank. But again, its weapon is mid-range.
Well, they had access to the heaviest of tanks during the Heresy. They have access to the Astraeus, and Land Raiders are not especially light tanks. They're just short range, like you say. Space Marines tend to focus on close-up attack. They have some artillery support, but nothing like the Astra Militarum has available to it, for example.
No.
Their whole point of Space Marines is to get in, fight, win the battle, and get out. Like, they're not there to hold ground. That's what the Astra Militarum is for.
Or even the Sisters of Battle if they're assisting them.
Well, sisters. We're gonna have a long conversation about that when we do the sisters are one, because sisters are great at killing the enemy, holding ground. They're going to be less effective than Astra Militarum.
Yeah, there's not as many of them.
Well, their priorities are also very different.
Yes, secure sacred ground. If there is sacred ground there, they'll take the planet. If it's not that sacred, they'll kill the enemy and move on.
So yeah, sisters of battle are great to have. When you're fighting after the battle, I think I would prefer to have almost anyone else.
Yes. Yes.
So there's that. So Space Marines are elite warriors who are organized into small groups. Usually the smallest group you have is what's called the combat squad, 5 guys. A standard squad is 10 guys. They can sometimes be deployed in groups larger than that, like a company-sized force is around 100 Space Marines. Very rarely you can see an entire chapter go to war. Very, very rarely. This did happen during the Badab War, and it also happened in the Defense Acadia and a few other things, but it's very rare. The different companies, like we said, have different functions. There's the battle companies, which are the 1st through 5th, if I'm not mistaken, and then the reserve companies are the 6th through 10th.
I do want to point this out, or the Acherons.
That's from Space Marine, the video game, obviously.
So this is actually more true nowadays, with the more elite units are deployed in groups of 3. That is an actual thing that the Codex has switched a little bit to, where if you're still a standard troop, you're deploying in 5s and 10s, but if you are an elite, you can be in a unit of 3.
Right.
And this is also very true. The Minotaurs do deploy in full strength, always.
That's one of those special chapters that does things differently than everybody else.
Yep. Thank you guys for those comments.
I seem to recall the Minotaurs got pretty heavily destroyed by like the Custodes, I think, recently, didn't they?
They didn't. So the novel didn't show them actually fight the Custodes. They just stood toe to toe with the Custodes, and the Custodes did. I can't remember. Valerian mentioned that the chapter master of the Minotaurs would actually put up a fight against him, but yeah, he didn't say who would lose.
So yeah, there are chapters, individual chapters that we're going to talk about. Like, you pick a chapter, we'll probably get around to talking about it.
Yep.
But Space, so that's, I think we've given a pretty good overview of Space Marines, but we have plenty of time left to dig into any particular aspect that you'd like to dig into. Is there one thing other than Dreadnoughts that you'd like to get into, Alexis?
Oh, I would love to talk about me some First Company Space Marines.
First Company. So the First Company we talked about before, they're the most veterans, the elites of the elite. Yep. And they also are given access to what's called Terminator armor. It's a special kind of armor, or tactical dreadnought armor, although Terminator is the most common term. Terminator armor is special because it is bigger, tougher, and has gear in it that functions with teleport devices, so that Terminator squads, most Terminator squads, not all, but most Terminator squads, can be teleported into battle, which is another form of that rapid assault that Space Marines love.
Cool thing about this is more of a 40K thing than a Heresy thing. Because in the Heresy, teleporting Terminators was extremely rare, and you had to use a teleportarium on the ship to do it. And it was mostly used for ship-to-ship combat. Yep. But in 40K, they somehow did a new thing.
Well, they knowledge
use locator beacons now.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So during the Heresy, the Legion who was best at teleport assault, Imperial Fists.
Yep.
And it was they who taught the other chapters after the Heresy some of their tricks on how to teleport guys into battle. Obviously, Chaos Space Marines have different means. Usually
sorcery and portals,
demon portals. Who knows? And that's how they teleport. But yeah, so the First Company is also where you get your Stern Guard veterans, your Vanguard veterans,
your Blade Guard veterans,
your Blade Guard Honor Guards are also drawn from the First Company.
Yes, but Honor Guards sit aside from the First Company.
The point I'm trying to get at is that when you're in the First Company, you are the best of the best, and you get all the really cool shit.
You are Cato.
Cato Sicarius.
No, not Cato Sicarius. Cato from Bolt Gun.
Oh, is that his name? Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
But I wanted to talk about their different battlefield roles and why First Company specializes in the destruction of everything. So going through the Terminator squads, you have 3 different varieties. So Terminators go into assault. Oh my God, don't call me right now.
We'd like to speak to you about your extended warranty on your Dreadnought.
Yeah, right? I thought I had my phone on mute. I apologize. Let me just make sure it is on mute and everybody knows to stop. But Dreadnoughts is split up into 3 different organizations, which is Thunderhammers, and these guys are meant to destroy like fortresses and everything. You have the Shooty Terminators. The Shooty Terminators are more anti-infantry, and they could be equipped with certain types of weapons like Cyclone missile launchers, which is a missile rack that is on their back that they themselves just look at, pick a target, and destroy it, while also using their Storm Bolters, which is 2 bolters glued together and hoping that they work.
They work really well, actually.
And then the third type of Terminator, I'm just going to say, is a specialist Terminator. And different chapters have different specialist Terminators, which would be like the Wolfguard Terminators, the Deathwing Terminators, and different Terminators of that nature. Technically, the Blood Angels still have their Heresy Error Terminator names, but they never got rules for some reason, and that still bugs me. But anyway, then you have the Stern Guard Veterans. Stern Guard Veterans are highly elite units that specialize in the destruction of mostly infantry and heavy infantry.
They're also headhunters.
Yes, they are also headhunters. They're going to go in and destroy the target, and they have access to the rarest ammunition types available to the chapter itself, including seeker ammunition, which is some of my favorite. They have supersonic rounds. They could have Kraken bolts. And these are different types of weapons for different types of jobs. Like if they're tasked with killing a hive tyrant, they will take a weapon a bolt weapon that is specially designed with an acid in it that can eat through a tyrannid that they cannot recover from. I forget what that round is called. It's not Dragonfire. It's I forget what the round is called. My apologies. But they also have different types of ammunition for everything that they need, and they carry multiple types of ammunition with them at once. So if they need to destroy a tank, they pop it in, destroy a tank. They can carry Hellfire. Thank you. And a lot of they're amazing. And on tabletop right now, they are super good.
Yeah, Hellfire is a mutagenic acid that when you hit the target, it just injects them full of this acid. Basically, it dissolves them from the inside out. It's pretty brutal. The Death Watch also are big fans of Hellfire rounds.
Yep. And in fact, in order to use the specialty ammunition types, you have to go through Stern Guard training, unless you went through Death Watch training. So you have to be a veteran.
So Stern Guard are the shooty veterans.
And then you have the more melee-oriented veterans, but these are more rapid assault veterans, are the Vanguard veterans. They are equipped with any close combat weapon that the chapter can get their hands on. And a lot of them have a unique weapon that they are highly specialized in, like Thunderhammers, Lightning Claws, you would have Power Swords, Storm Shields, and Power Fists. These guys are specialized in killing captains and leaders. They want to just descend upon them, kill them, their elite guard, and get out.
So they usually have jump packs to help them achieve this role, but not always.
A jump pack is a type of jetpack that is mostly used for jumping. As weird as that is, it can maintain some flight, but it's not its purpose. Its purpose is to rocket up and then slam into the ground using the advanced Space Marine biology along with the suit that they're wearing to slam into enemies, surprise them, kill them real quickly, and get out. It is a highly effective and only really effective with Space Marines and Sisters of Battle Seraphim. Then the last elite that I really want to talk about is the Blade Guard veterans. These guys are mostly protecting your captains, your characters. They're highly elite, usually from the Vanguard veterans, but they don't have a jump pack. They have a gigantic shield and sword, or depending on the chapter, whichever weapon they specialize in. And they are more of protectors.
Bodyguards.
Yeah, bodyguards.
If you have your chapter master who's going to meet with, some Eldari Farseer over a matter of diplomacy, perhaps, you would send him accompanied by Blade Guard veterans, because those would be the guys who would cut their way out if they got into an ambush.
Yep.
And I think
that's let's go over some super chats really quickly. Alrighty, let's see. Hang on, I gotta scroll down. My apologies. Boop.
Puso Yo, thank you, sir, says, anyone up for a West Marches style Deathwatch game? Hell yeah, that sounds awesome.
That does sound really fun.
Trying to organize one via Lorebeards Discord RPG forum if peeps are interested. Man, that sounds cool. If anybody's into it, go check it out in the Discord for Lorebeards, because we have a very active Discord community. Super Orlock, love your name. Just a smile. Ooh woo, love it. Gary Garrianson says, since you don't know Angels Resplendent or Penitent, which chapter fell the most or did so in an interesting way, but still remained loyal, unquestioned? I know my answer. I want to hear yours, Alexis.
There is a chapter that I feel they have to remain loyal, right? It has to be the Soul Drinkers.
Soul Drinkers are pretty cool.
They did everything they could to remain loyal.
There's a lot of options here. You could have picked
or the Flesh Terrors.
I
like the Flesh Terrors. They went all insane and did, yeah.
So my pick is actually related to the Flesh Terrors. My pick is the Knights of Blood. The Knights of Blood were a successor chapter to the Blood Angels, and they were just so damn good at their job that an Inquisitor was like, that's not okay. They're too good. They're too good at taking down enemies of the Imperium. Something's wrong here. So this Inquisitor goes to the High Lords of Terra and convinces them to excommunicate the Lords of Blood, or the Knights of Blood, and make them hunted and traitors. So the Knights of Blood are just out there doing their job. They're just out there like, yep, killing aliens. We're just, doing our job. And all of a sudden they get this message. You are now considered a traitor chapter. We're coming after you. The Knights of Blood were like, that's bad, right? That's really bad. But because they were loyal, because they were unquestionably loyal, like Gary Garrianson wants to talk about, they instead found ways to make themselves useful. And at the big battle at Baal recently, where all the successor chapters returned of the Blood Angels, the Knights of Blood showed up, even though they knew they could just get killed right away. They were like, if Dante calls, we're going to answer. So the Knights of Blood show up, and alongside the Flesh Terrors, they fought against the Tyranids of Highfleet Leviathan to the last man and made a heroic sacrifice to prove once and for all they were not traitors, y'all. They were absolutely loyal the whole time. So my choice is the Knights of Blood.
They're not a chapter, but I really do like the Redeemed, the Dark Angels unit. I think they're super cool. I want to get more lore about them because somehow they know how to use the forest, which is super interesting.
Yeah, so some of the most recent lore has the Lion finding a whole bunch of the fallen Dark Angels and bringing them back into the fold and calling them the Redeemed. And they now fight alongside him because, well, you should read Son of the Forest. Son of the Forest is a really good novel that kind of explains a lot about the new Dark Angel lore. Highly, highly recommend. It's a really good novel. So we have gone through a lot about the Space Marines today.
Yeah, we have. And we're not even done with just their battlefield roles.
Oh, God, no. God, no. So we talked about your standard line Space Marine is your battle brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Standard battle brothers are formed into what's called groups called tactical squads. At least in the Firstborn, they're called tactical squads.
Yep.
And tactical squads are your jack of all trades. They're good at everything, because to get to a tactical squad, you have to have been an assault marine, been a heavy weapons marine, been a scout. You know, you've done all the jobs, and now you get to be a tactical space marine. And so tactical space marines, the thing about them was they had 10 guys, 8 of whom had bolters, 1 was a sergeant, 1 had a heavy weapon, and 1 had a special weapon. So you could gear them up for just about any particular role. A tactical squad could be an anti-tank squad if you gave them a las cannon or a multi-melta. They could be an anti-infantry squad if you had heavy bolter or a grenade launcher. So tactical squads are, in the Firstborn, were one of the most versatile things you could field. The Primaris Marines are organized in much more specialized groups. There's the intercessors, which, as Alexis pointed out, are all just anti-infantry guys with bolt rifles. There's the what are the plasma guys called again?
Well, for the battle line dudes, let's just stick to that really quickly. For the battle line, we have 3 different Primaris squads. So unlike tactical marines, which are meant to be split into 2 squads of 5, where they're effective either against, certain enemies, the intercessors are a anti-infantry squad where the sergeant can upgrade himself to have a grenade launcher and a thunderhammer, or any of the melee weapons that he chooses. You have the heavy intercessor squad, which uses the Gravis armor, which is an add-on to their armor that makes it heavier, and they're much harder to kill, but it's not as specialized or thick as Terminator plate, but it's a good middle ground between them. They're a bit slower because of this, but they can hold heavier rifles and heavy bolters. This allows them to deal with more elite or heavy infantry. Then you have the assault intercessors, which are, in most chapters, the youngest of the recruits that aren't scouts anymore. These are chainsword, bolt pistol. They're going to run directly at the enemy, get out of the vehicles and just charge the enemy in the front lines, or get out of the drop pods and charge the enemies. They are the more aggressive anti-infantry.
Yeah, it's worth noting that that Primaris don't have scouts. They don't have. They have special units that do things like scouts, but they don't have scout squads. There's no. If you're a Primaris Space Marine, you are a full Primaris Space Marine right from the start. You're not an initiate and then become a Primaris Space Marine.
They do have a unit that fills a scouting role.
Right, but those guys are full Space Marines with all the full gear and everything. That's my point I'm getting across.
Yes.
It's a very different type of thing.
Yep. And once we go into the more specialized units, we have the fire support units. The fire support units include things like the Hellblasters.
The plasma guys, all plasma, all the time is the Hellblaster.
Yes, these guys have 2 different types of plasma gun, either a rapid fire plasma gun or a heavy plasma gun. Now, in game, they're both the same gun now, but in earlier editions, they weren't. But the plasma that they wield is a safer variant of the plasma gun that they originally had, because Belisarius Cawl touched it. It still doesn't make it safe because it's Imperial plasma, so it still has the chance of killing yourself. And these guys are organized into units of 10, which is very unusual for intercessors, for Primaris Marines, but they are considered the Devastator variant of the Primaris Marine. And then as they become more elite, they go into the 3-man squads, which would include things like the Eradicators that carry around Melta weapons. But getting back to the Hellblasters, the Hellblaster plasma is more akin to dealing with light tanks and super heavy infantry. That's where their specialty is. And then we got things like the Eradicators. The Eradicators specialize in destroying super heavy infantry, tanks, heavy tanks, fortifications, any wall that you can see in front of you. They are designed to kill it. They are in a unit of 3 to 6, and typically 1 to 2 of them have a multi-melta, a much more effective version of their melta rifle.
Yeah, there's a ton of different Primaris variants too. There's the Phobos armor guys, there's the Gravis armor guys, there's the standard Mark 10 armor guys. we could probably spend the rest of this episode just talking about the different squads of Primaris that are available.
I love talking about the Space Marines and their roles.
So who are the scout equivalent of the Primaris?
So the scout equivalent, there is a few of them. Each one serves a different role. The most famous one would be the Eliminators, which use the Instigator Bolt Carbine, which is a rifle.
It's a sniper rifle, basically.
Yeah. Well, they use hang on, let me get their weapons.
Or am I thinking of a different unit? The different unit with the sniper rifles.
The Bolt Sniper Rifle is used by 2 members of their unit, and 1 member of their unit uses the Instigator Bolt Carbine. The Bolt Carbine is a precision weapon, so it is a rifle, but it's not as big or as dangerous as the Intercessor's Bolt Sniper Rifle. Sorry, not Intercessor, the Eliminators. These names are going to start to become redundant after a bit. The Bolt Sniper Rifle is a supersonic bolt round, which is rare in the Space Marines, which is weird. You would think that all bolt weapons were supersonic, but they're not.
Well, they're gyrojets in a lot of ways because they're like a little smart missile. Not really smart, but like a little missile that you fire. It's not really.
They're not a missile. They are a rocket. There are some that are missiles. The Seeker rounds are actual missiles because they are guided. But the vast majority of bolt rounds do not break the sound barrier. And they're kind of meant not to break the sound barrier because they're meant to punch through armor and then explode. And if they broke the sound barrier, they would actually punch right through them.
Yeah, the M16 problem in Vietnam, where you'd be shooting through guys rather than actually killing them.
2 of the Eliminators can have a las fusel. This is a mid-range las cannon that's more sniper rifle-esque, although I don't know why you would want a sniper rifle that immediately leaves a giant ion trail to where you are. That sounds terribly bad. Like, hey, I think there's a sniper up there.
Well,
there definitely is one up there.
Space Marines and stealth is going to be a whole show, really, because there's chapters that specialize in stealth, which is weird to think of as Space Marines as being stealthy because they're 7 feet tall and extremely heavy. But
in all fairness, these guys, and you will appreciate this, are equipped with cameline cloaks and a noise suppressor that blocks the vibrations next to them, so sound doesn't emit from them.
Right, but some chapters go further, like the Raptors actually use actual camouflage, for example. The Raven Guard wear all black to blend into the shadows, etc. But Space Marine stealth for a long time was more of a joke than a reality. But there are certain units like Space Marine Scouts and like these guys who use Camellia-line cloaks. Camellia-line is a material that is like an elven cloak in Lord of the Rings. Like it adapts to whatever's around you and kind of hides you. And as long as you're not moving, it does a pretty good job of hiding you.
The other 2 scout equivalents would be the Incursor Squad. These guys are more mid-ranged scouting units. They all have essentially a TMP is the way. That's what their bolt gun essentially is. It's just a TMP variant of a bolt gun, which is pretty funny.
What is TMP? Is that like a bullpup, basically?
Yeah. And then you have the Infiltrator Squad, and these guys specialize in mostly just keeping enemies away and disorienting deep strikes and infiltrating into enemy territory and killing certain characters.
They also have a scrambling unit, don't they? The Incursors?
That is the Incursors. They scramble all sorts of things, and they're very good at taking out communications. They also have a scout variant of a definitely not Dreadnought. And this is the Invictor Tactical Warsuit.
Yes.
So
it's not a Dreadnought, to be clear. This is a Space Marine driving and powered suit in a powered suit.
That is definitely just a Dreadnought without the sarcophagus in it.
Yes.
But the Invictor Tactical Warsuit is for those who aren't crippled in body, but crippled in heart. It's the emotional support Dreadnought.
Ouch.
It is hands down one of my favorite vehicles in 40K because it shows the ridiculousness of 40K, because this is a scout vehicle. This vehicle is The original lore that I read for this thing is that it doesn't make noise. And I could go through all of the war gear in 40K that would reduce the amount of noise that this thing would make, but you would still see all of its like smoke, and there's no way to hide this thing. But it's hilarious that this is a scout vehicle and it is considered an extremely fast dreadnought.
Well, remember, Sentinels of the Astra
Not a
Militarum.
dreadnought.
Sentinels of the Astra Militarum are also scout vehicles that are supposed to be stealthy.
So these things more than likely just fill a scouting ahead of the main force role versus a infiltrator role. But I felt the need to include them. I felt yeah.
And to be clear, this is the tip of the Space Marine Special Squad iceberg. We could go on and on and on. So many different subtypes, and many chapters have their own individual special groups as well. Yeah, Professor Shapp says, "And Victor, brother, the Emperor said it is my turn to play as a dreadnought." Very good.
I love it. I absolutely love it. We have a few more super chats, so let's get to those.
All right, good idea. Gary Garrionson.
Wait, did we read this one already?
Yeah, we did.
We just have two to read through. This one's from Over.
Provoked Coffee says, "What is your opinion on the hypothetical timeline, oh God, where Mortarion and Isha escape the Garden of Nurgle and reunite with the Eldar, rehabilitating Mortarion and fixing his body with Wraithbone? Imagine Mortarion as an Eldar unit." Well, you've managed to boggle my mind.
That one's all you.
Wow. Okay, that would be a major change to 40K. I kind of love the idea of Mortarion fixing his body with Wraithbone, though, because there is something kind of beautiful about Wraithbone being the thing that is replacing the parts of bodies. I mean, I don't know. Can a greater demon become mortal again? I don't know.
I mean, the Emperor did say he would come for Mortarion.
through the Eldar? I mean,
you know, sure.
So Isha and the Garden of Nurgle. So I honestly, as a 40K fan, I never thought that we would ever see the Garden of Nurgle, but we did, because that's where Guilliman died. That's where there was a recent book. It was the books where they burned the Garden of Nurgle.
The Plague War books.
The Plague War books, yeah. The Plague War books actually did this. They went there, and it was pretty shocking to me. Breaking out Isha, first of all, would be an enormous boon to the Asuryani. The Craft World Eldar would just be like
3 whole gods.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. Yeah, they would be 4. 4. Yeah, 4.
Yeah, they would Kikaroth, Isha, Kane, and Yanid.
Yeah, Iniad, yeah. If you want to pronounce it that way, it's fine. I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's how I originally read it, and I can't undo it.
So that is an incredibly wild situation to be in, but it's frankly very intriguing. So my opinion is I would love to know more about it.
Would you like to know more?
I would like to know more. Yes, I'm doing my part. Leader 2457, thank you, sir. What are you favorite of Call's Totally Not Traitor Gene Seed chapters? Oh, that's a good one for Alexis. And your opinion of Alpha Primus.
Okay, one, I feel bad for Alpha Primus. Like, the poor dude got tortured. But my favorite is what is the Emperor's Children chapter where they're white and have the purple pauldron? Sons of the Phoenix, I think. I think that's the name of the chapter. I'm drawing a blank. I think that's their name, but they are one of my favorite. I don't know anything about them. I just know their
Sons of the Phoenix. Yeah, yes. Sons of the Phoenix. Yeah.
I just know their chapter, and I know they're really, really, really cool looking, and I love them. I think they're great.
Yeah, those guys do look very Emperor's Children. Wow.
Yeah, but they're totally Imperial fists.
Well, here's the thing. Pre-Heresy Emperor's Children are rad as hell. So I'm also going to pick Sons of the Phoenix because I would love to see that version of the Emperor's Children again. And whew, boy, that'd be nice. Now, Alpha Primus, Alexis, do you want to tell everybody who Alpha Primus is?
So Alpha Primus is if I'm getting this right, I could be completely wrong and thinking of a completely different character, but Alpha Primus is the original Primaris Space Marine. He is the guy that stays alongside Belisarius Cawl while he fixes everything wrong that he keeps like messing up with the Primaris Space Marines to make them better. But yeah, the poor guy is just tortured the entire time.
So he's also an incredibly powerful psyker.
Yes.
And he's stronger and tougher than any Primaris Marine, but not on the level of a Primarch.
Yeah, and he also has like severe anger issues, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, that's Space Marines in general, but
yeah, but I mean like Thunder Warrior level anger.
Ooh, Thunder Warriors. Okay, Thunder Warriors are pretty rad, and we should do a whole episode on them as well. The Thunder Warriors were the prototype of Space Marines. The Thunder Warriors were the creation of the Emperor, who used them to unify Earth during the Unification Wars, and then made sure to kill all of them before the Great Crusade started. Because Thunder Warriors were not especially useful for galactic conquest. They were great for Earth conquest, not good for galactic conquest. And the Thunder Warriors, well, they weren't real happy about getting wiped out like that. No. And it is one of the reasons, the fact that the Thunder Warriors were wiped out like they were is one of the main reasons why Horus is like, maybe we should rebel against the Emperor, because if we don't, he's probably going to get rid of us the same way.
But the Thunder Warriors' biggest flaw was that they burn out really quickly. And that is a problem that we're seeing with the Redemptor Dreadnoughts, the newest iterations of the Dreadnoughts. They burn out their pilots much quicker than the Castafarum does, which the Castafarum is the safest of the Dreadnought options in terms of like, you don't go as crazy and your brain doesn't get fried from using it. Where the Leviathans and the Saturnines, well, the Leviathan especially, would burn out its pilot really quickly. The Saturnines, you have to be like a really skilled pilot or a psyker to deal with it.
Well, there's also, sorry, I am a huge nerd for Dreadnoughts. So there's also the Thousand Suns had a very specific type of Dreadnought called those Sirens.
Yep.
That were psyker Dreadnoughts, and there was the Derrideos, which, I mean, the poor Derrideos get no love. Nobody loves the Derrideos.
I love them. Screw everybody else. I love my angry attack boat.
So they are kind of rowboats.
I like how we're back to Dreadnoughts again.
They're so goddamn cool. I'm an enormous fan. Anyway, so this Professor Shep says, I think it said that Alpha Primus is always in pain also. Yeah,
Alpha Primus is always suffering.
Okay, so we've gone over a lot of the Primaris organizations. If you don't mind, I'd like to bring up a super chat actually that's relevant to the conversation.
Go ahead.
So Pusayo says, are there any Space Marine models you particularly like or dislike? For me, it's Centurions. Hey man, I heard you like power armor, so I added power armor to your power armor. So silly.
Hey, I can go on my rant about this. So, and this was confirmed, and I am happy about this. Did you know that Centurion armor and Saturnine armor are the same?
Really?
Yes, the exoskeleton of the Saturnine armor does go over a powered armor Space Marine. The only difference is the Saturnine armor is fully encapsulated and has several shield generators. The Centurion armor, they could not replicate the shield generators anymore after the Heresy. So they had a bunch of Saturnine armor that was broken down and they rebuilt into Centurion armor. And it is not as efficient, but it is a good gun platform. And you can see this if you look at the back of both models. You can see the exoskeleton of the Saturnine armor matches that of the Centurion armor. And I am stupid happy about that. I love Centurions. I will die on the hill that they look just as stupid as they need to. And that makes them cool. But they're not my favorite.
for me, particularly I like the aggressors, which is the Gravis armor, Primaris Space Marines that operate groups of 3, and they're just rad. They're freaking awesome. I will also say that I really like Centurions. Unfortunately,
Yes!
I'm sorry, Pusuya, you found two guys
Yes!
who really like Centurions. For me, the models I dislike. I'm not a big fan of the Grey Knight Dreadnought, because
the Nemesis baby carrier.
I'm not a big fan of that. And the Invader ATV is just a Mario Kart.
You take that back.
It's a Mario Kart vehicle.
Mario Kart.
It's a Mario Kart vehicle. I'm sorry.
It is.
Those are my two dislikes.
Okay, so if I had to go with dislikes, the number one is the Storm Raven. It's stupid. It looks bad. In fact,
really,
when they redesigned it, they made it longer, and it looks so much better. Also, this is not an airplane. This is a helicopter.
That's a Storm Eagle. That's a Storm Eagle, not a Storm Raven.
Eagle. Yeah, but I'm saying that the Storm Eagle is a better design because it's longer. And
Agreed.
It is still a helicopter. All the Space Marine aircrafts are helicopters, if you haven't noticed.
Well, the Xiphon Interceptor is definitely a fighter, and the
current day. And I would also argue that the Xiphon Interceptor is also a helicopter in its design.
All right. I mean,
I have a whole thing about it where but the Storm Raven is honestly the dumbest looking aircraft in 40K. I went over it with a flight engineer and everything. All of the Space Marine aircrafts do fly. They don't fly well, but they have enough thrust to fly and fly correctly, and I hate it. But that's not my most hated. My most hated is still, to this day, the Venerable Space Wolf Dreadnought.
Oh yeah.
It is so goddamn dumb. It was made at the same time that they were making the plastic Castafarum Dreadnought, not the plastic Contemptor Dreadnought, and they had the opportunity to make the Dreadnought bigger, and they didn't, and it looks really dumb, and it's just a Dreadnought. It's the old box knot, but it's holding a weapon out here with no way to actually use it. And it's so bad. And I love it, but it's bad. It's my least favorite.
Fair enough. To be clear, I don't hate these things. They're just the ones I dislike.
If I see it on a tabletop, I will fling it across the room. I'm joking.
Okay, we're not playing 40K together. We're just
I'm joking. I'm joking.
All right. So
also, the Storm Eagle is in grabbing distance.
Storm Eagles, the Heresy era aircraft, I think, is some of my favorite Space Marine aircraft.
My favorite aircraft in all of 40K is the Avenger Strike Fighter.
Well,
mostly because it's the A-10 Warthog.
Basically. But we're here to talk about Space Marines. So,
did you know that in the Heresy, that was a Space Marine aircraft?
Well, sure. They had their own Primaris strike fighters. They had Primaris. Actually, they had Baneblades in the Heresy.
Yes. Yeah, I used to run my Baneblade. Unfortunately, 3rd edition did away with the Space Marine Baneblade, and that really annoyed me because my Baneblade sitting in that cabinet over there is a Dark Angel Baneblade.
Is it Heresy era or is it later?
Well, there's only one iteration of the Baneblade model made, unfortunately.
Is it green or black?
It's black. It's black and red.
That's Heresy era. Heresy era Dark Angel.
But my favorite of the new tanks that came out is this bad boy.
Kratos. The Kratos is freaking awesome. Yeah.
I love me some Kratos.
It's also a really good tank. Really good.
Yeah, tabletop-wise, this tank is actually fire.
So I made a mistake and I clicked on a different super chat and it came up. So I think we have to talk about it.
Yep.
My mistake, guys. Sorry about that. But
how dare you?
Gary Garrison says, would you mind saying a few words about the Space Marine analogs at the end? Grail Knights, Chaos Warriors, and Stormcast. Similarities and differences.
This is all you.
Okay, so what Gary's talking about here are the Space Marine ish units from the Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar side.
Oh, like the Sig
franchise.
Marines.
So Stormcast Eternals are by far the most closest analog. Stormcast Eternals have been called Sig Marines because they are very similar to Space Marines in terms of build and the way their armor looks. But they are definitely a fantasy model. They are reforged souls inhabiting magical armor. They ride dragons and griffins and carry lightning crossbows. They're kind of awesome.
It still annoys me that Age of Sigmar gets things riding dragons, and we don't have a salamander unit riding dragons into combat.
Drakes. It would be Drakes.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care. Give him a goddamn dragon.
The creatures from Nocturne are called Drakes or Fire Drakes. So
just put some cybernetics on it, give it wings, call it cool. No, give it a giant jump pack.
Grail Knights. Grail Knights are that's from Warhammer Fantasy and not Age of Sigmar. Grail Knights are definitely, they embody a lot of the more spiritual side of Space Marines, because Space Marines tend to be seen as very solemn beings who take honor and oaths and promises very, very seriously. They are not frivolous, and they are not generally going around telling jokes. Grail Knights are that, but in fantasy, and they have a very Arthurian approach. Some of that is built into the chapters. The Heresy era Dark Angels, for example, are very knightly oriented. So if you like Grail Knights, check out the Heresy era Dark Angels. Chaos Warriors. Chaos Warriors are
they're interchangeable.
In Warhammer Fantasy, a Chaos Warrior is damn near a Space Marine. They are about the same size, about the same build. Their armor is really weird and Baroque, kind of like Space Marines are.
You just put a power pack on the back of them.
Well, they would make great Chaos Marines with the power pack, yeah. And I've seen people do some really great conversions using pieces from the Chaos Warrior range. Now, Andy and Lorian, Lore Master Sotek, can speak at much greater length about all three of those things and tell you everything you want to know. But I can tell you that the Chaos Warriors kind of are the attitude of Space Marines, in that they're belligerent, they are aggressive, they want to fight. The Grail Knights, as I said, are kind of the contemplative or spiritual side of a Space Marine, and the Stormcast are the like one-to-one physical, made for war, mirror universe of a Space Marine in a lot of ways. So those are all three different ways to look at a Space Marine in a different franchise. So
you can also use demons. Demons are demons in every franchise.
Well, yeah, that's true.
There is a comment that I want to bring up.
Yeah, please. Avarice. Mr. Mike on Dollar Grind Set says Avarice is pretty dope.
Yes, I just want to agree with that.
So what is Avarice?
I think you meant Arvis.
Oh, the Arvis lighter?
Yeah, which is...
Oh my God, it's a flying dumpster.
No, yeah, you do not research. You do not mess with your Arvis lighter. It is probably my second favorite aircraft, if not my first favorite. It's tied. I love the fact that Nathaniel Garrow used an Arvis lighter in space to sneak aboard the Phalanx. That'll always be the best use of an Arvis. But I have 6 Arvis lighters for my Sola Auxilia. I love them so much. They are amazing little aircrafts, and they are adorable, and I will not hear anything bad about them. They are great.
I will hold my tongue on the Arvis lighter.
I love it.
Not a fan, but I don't hate it. It's fine. It's fine. It's just a little small general purpose surface to orbit shuttle is really what it is. So, it's one of those, like 40K. You don't actually see a lot of the standard vehicles you would imagine that a sci-fi, space fantasy setting would have, like little shuttles to move things around, trucks to drive things around, motorcycles. The trucks and motorcycles we got those with
Gene Stealer
cults. But it's important to point out that those are not just Gene Stealer cult vehicles. Those are vehicles you would find on almost any Imperial world.
Hang on a second, my cat's eating garbage.
Oh, well, that's a bad thing. Stop it. So what are Alexis, what are some things we have not yet discussed about who the Space Marines are.
So, what do you think the Space Marines represent for Games Workshop?
Money. Lots and lots of money.
I mean, yes, obviously. It is literally they make you buy the same army like 4 times every they make you buy the same army every 10 years. But aside from that, I got one. What is your favorite iteration of the Space Marine? Like, what model is your favorite era of Space Marine?
So, fun historical note here. The first Space Marine was sculpted by a guy called Bob Naismith back in '87. And Bob Naismith, this model was re-released in '91. You may have seen it. It's the quote-unquote Mark I Space Marine. It looks very, very different. And the reason why is because when Bob sculpted that first Space Marine and showed it off to the studio was like, okay, but we want something more medieval feeling. And so Just Goodwin took that concept and went back to the drawing board, came out with the Aquila armor, basically, the Mark VII. But he also created the Mark VI. The Mark VI is the beaky Marine. This is my favorite version of a Space Marine, is with the big Corvus beak. And the reason why that beak exists is because they were trying for a medieval knight feel. And if you look at a lot of medieval knight helmets, they also have a very conical front to their helm. The Beaky Marines was my first exposure to Space Marines, and it was the first time I saw those giant shoulder pads. It's the first time I saw, like, all the weird iconography. And some of that original art, like especially like the old Ultramarines art, goes really hard with the Beaky Marines.
It really does. I do love me some old Space Marine artwork. I think the greatest Space Marine I think I've ever seen has to be the captain, the nameless captain box from 5th edition with the eagle backpack, the cape, and just him with the beaky helmet, because I do like the beaky helmet.
Oh, Kovu causing trouble.
Are you okay?
Oh, Kovu, speak to me.
He's good. He tried to jump on top of my pile of Space Marines and fell over.
He said you need more chaos in this stream.
Yes, we do. We need more Kovu.
One thing we haven't gone into a lot of discussion about is Chaos Space Marines, which is the other side of that coin.
Yeah, I thought this was just going to be Imperial Space Marines.
Well, I mean, the topic is pretty broad. Who are the Space Marines? It would probably behoove us to spend a half hour or so talking about the Chaos Space Marines. So why don't you start? Who are the Chaos Space Marines? What's their deal?
So the Chaos Space Marines are the overall antagonist of the entire setting. They are evil. They follow the They are evil. Everyone's evil, though.
Depends on the chapter. Like some of them are, and more like Alpha Legion are more antagonists than evil. Whereas
I will agree with that.
Night Lords are definitely evil.
Night Lords, World Eaters, Emperor's Children, 1,000 Suns are like chaotic stupid. They're not really unified. But the Chaos Space Marines represent like the overall antagonist of the setting. They are the Space Marines, but spikier, cooler, edgier, more capes, weird horns on their armor at all points. And they kind of do tend to mutate quite a bit more. Their armor is a bit more dynamic, especially in the earlier days. Their armor was like way different. The backpack was way longer.
Baroque.
And yeah, but without going into a lot of detail, they are the thing that is trying to overthrow the Imperium, and they are the main threat to the galaxy.
Overthrow, destroy, replace. They are definitely anti-Imperium. Chaos Space Marines are. Many of them have very different reasons. Like the Black Legion under Abaddon, he just wants revenge for the Horus Heresy. He wants revenge for the death of his Primarch. He wants to tear down an Imperium that has become exactly what it was meant to oppose, right?
Yeah.
There's guys like Huron Blackheart who don't have any real ideological they're not fighting the Imperium for any high-minded ideal. They're just like, fuck those guys. That's Huron Blackheart and the Red Corsairs.
Yeah.
Because he got done dirty by the Imperium and he wants to do it back to them. Like that's
the Emperor's Children. They are the embodiment of their god itself. Their god of hedonism and perfection. and they're kind of the most evil, in my opinion, of the Chaos Space Marines.
That's a tough category. Is like, who's the most evil? Like, we could have a whole conversation. That's a long conversation.
Out of all four, like, well, there's 5 major chaos factions, and then the others they're minor chaos factions, in my opinion, for Chaos Space Marines. You have the Emperor's Children, the World Eaters, the Thousand Suns, and the Death Guard. Then you have the Black Legion. I think that's the 5 main ones. And out of all of those, the one that I would pick to come after me as an enemy is the World Eaters. The World Eaters are rage incarnate. They are just going to kill you.
Raving madmen. One of their rules is called raving madmen. So
yep. They are just going to smash you with a chain axe and you're going to be dead. And that is the best fate you could have. The Emperor's Children are going to take you away. And then we can't say things on YouTube or Twitch or anything that would.
Let's just say
we want to stay monetized.
Let's just say fate worse than death. For that.
The Thousand Suns might use you as a spell ingredient, tear out your soul, make it into a weird soul ring around their planet, which was a very weird thing to have, but sure. They might corrupt you, turn you into dust, but they're going to use you. The Black Legion is probably also just going to recruit you into their more cultists than anything else. But we should actually break down all the legions. What do they do? What does the Black Legion do?
So it's important to point out that the majority of the Chaos Space Marines their origin lies in the Horus Heresy. Like, they were all legions that turned against the Emperor and fled after the Horus Heresy into the Eye of Terror, where they basically live and have been striking out on raids and attacks against the Imperium ever since. There are occasional bursts of activity from the Chaos Space Marines called the Black Crusades, where Abaddon, who is the big bad of the setting and essentially you can think of him as the leader of the Chaos Space Marines, although he technically only leads the Black Legion, but he is possibly one of the most influential figures in the Chaos Space Marine faction. And Abaddon leads these Black Crusades where he takes shitloads of mutants and traitor guard and Chaos Space Marines and demons and everything else.
Knights
and goes out
and Titans.
All of that. And goes out and attacks the Imperium. So Chaos Space, so like Space Marines are kind of the face of the setting. Imperial Space Marines are the face of the Imperium. Chaos Space Marines are the face of the Chaos faction. They have more named characters for the Chaos faction than any other. Then there are named demons, then there are named traitor guardsmen, then there are named mutants, stuff like that. They are. Go ahead.
I was actually thinking when you said that, I'm like, oh, hold on. Demons have a lot of named characters.
True, that is true, but there's a whole bunch of chaos. I would argue there's probably more named Chaos Space Marines than there are named demons in 40K.
Are we talking with model or without? Without, definitely. With model, there's more demons.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't want to get into a situation where we're like counting from the webpage, so I will stipulate you're probably right. Because
there's 8 named greater demons of just 2 from each faction, and Slaanesh has 3 named greater demons, and then 1 named. And then, yeah. Anyway, I could go into a rant about demons. I love demons.
So Chaos Space Marines are generally extremely violent. They can be characterized as evil in most cases. They are certainly allied with demons and perform human sacrifice and do a lot of things that are heinous by our standards. And they are, again, as the antagonists of the setting. It's important to point out there is no good guys in 40K. All
there are protagonists and
antagonists and a lot of just everybody's various shades of bad. All right. So we talked about a little bit about the Chaos Space Marines. We're going to go in depth into each of their groups as well, because I could talk. I want to do a whole show about the Battle War. I want to do a whole show about the Austerclaws who became the Red Corsairs. I want to do a whole show about the Black Legion and where they came from, because they were originally.
I want to do a whole show about demons.
Demons, 40K demons would be great.
So let's grab some super chats really quickly. Again, guys, if you want to support the channel and all we do here, use a super chat.
Gary Garionson, wow, thank you, sir. You're doing a lot of chats today. I do appreciate you. Would you mind saying we already did this one, actually?
Oh, we did. I'm so sorry.
But he's back. Gary Garionson is back. The most bizarre way of initiation: Space Wolf, Blood Angel, DS. What does DS stand for? I'm not sure. Grey Knight, I think, are those the last one.
I was thinking Deathsworn for some reason. I can't think of a. It's probably really obvious too, but I can't think of a chapter that's DS.
I don't know what that's from.
My brain is like Nintendo DS. Thanks, brain.
So yes, these chapters that are listed here do have very different means of initiating.
But which one is the weirdest out of any chapter?
The weirdest, the most bizarre. That honestly, I'd have to do some research on that. Because I know there are some very weird ones. The Space Wolf one is pretty unique. They take their. Go ahead.
I know which one I'm picking. The Exorcists.
Okay, well, let's hear about it. What's the Exorcist initiation?
So after you become a Space Marine, but before you join the chapter, you have to exorcise a demon from you. You get possessed.
Wow, that's pretty bold.
And then you have to fight it off and then survive an exorcism.
That's pretty great.
To become one of them. And for some reason, that's not Grey Knight lore. That is a different chapter.
Weird. I'm going to say it's not, to me, it is somewhat bizarre, but I actually just like the poetic nature of it. And that's the Blood Angel initiation. So Blood Angels as Space Marines are some of the most beautiful. Like they are very attractive in their features. They are noble and angelic. They practice art and music. But they're also warriors, obviously, like all of those things. But they are vampires. But they are an ideal in certain for a certain value of ideal. They are an ideal of a beautiful warrior. Okay. But what they recruit from is the radiation scarred wastes of Baal. So if you want to imagine sorry about that. If you want to imagine the family from The Hills Have Eyes, or like the weirdest guys from the Road Warrior, right? And that is these just shambling, mutated freaks. And when they go through this initiation process, they enter a sarcophagus and are given the blood of the chapter. And when they emerge, they are this beautiful being. They have transcended all the physical, in any misshapen physical features or any mutations or any impurities are all burned away by the process, and they are transformed from the hideous to the sublime. So it's bizarre for a certain level of bizarre, but that's one of my favorites.
Definitely would never get possessed by a demon by being shoved into a sarcophagus filled with blood and put into a shelf.
I think he's talking about could DS mean death specters?
I was thinking that too.
Oh, here's the man himself. Gary Garionson says death specter advancement. You need to die and come back. I'd forgotten about the death specters. That's a good.
Yeah, they're weird. But I still think exorcising a demon is a little bit more crazy than that.
No, but that's a good call out. Good call out. Yeah, Gary Garionson. I'd forgotten about the death specters, and I appreciate you reminding us about their weird initiation. There are many chapters that have strange, weird stuff. Leader 2457, thank you, sir. Don't forget Word Bearers 1, e.g. chaplains exist. Okay, to be clear, chaplains do not exist because of the Word Bearers. Chaplains exist, and this may blow some people's minds. Chaplains exist because of the Edict of Nicaea. So during the Horus Heresy, there was this big council called the Council of Nicaea, where the Emperor and a bunch of Primarchs and a bunch of other big notables of the Imperium gathered together to discuss the issue of psychers in the legions Astartes, Space Marine psychers, because the 1,000 Suns have been going around with every single person as a psyker, right? Just all of them, all psychers all the time. And they were not being subtle about how their powers worked. And it freaked out everybody. To understand why this freaked out everybody, you have to understand that during the Unification Wars, Psykers were horrible witch kings that ruled entire parts of the Mad Max Earth and did heinous acts. Like the descriptions of Unification Wars is spine chilling. Okay. And the people of Earth of Terra had become extremely wary of anyone with psychic abilities, because they had dealt with hundreds of years, thousands of years of domination under crazy, sometimes corrupted psykers on Earth. So to see a Space Marine Legion, remember, hundreds of thousands of guys running around using their powers willy-nilly, just boom, and it felt reckless. Even to learned men, it felt extremely reckless. Like that's the kindest description you can give to all of this. So at the council in IKEA, sorry, I promise I'm almost done. At the council in IKEA, they decided that there would be no psykers in the legions. This is the rule that everyone decided was a stupid rule and it broke. But also, they decided that each legion would establish chaplains. The role of chaplains was to A, watch for any violations of the edict, and B, the biggest reason, was to make sure that the Imperial Creed was being spread amongst the legions about superstition and magic being bad, right? So chaplains come from the Edict in Nicaea. They do not come from a religious or spiritual concept. They gained that later over time. But during the heresy, religion was seen as this was not part of the Imperial Creed. So the first chaplains, the heresy era chaplains, they were there to actually stamp out spiritual stuff and religious stuff. And that changed over time. Thank you. Go ahead, Alexis. Sorry.
I forgot what I was going to say.
You got me talking about the heresy, and you know what?
I did remember. In the Talon of Horus book, his companion, the Thousand Sun, what was his name?
Talon of Horus?
Yeah, Abaddon's Thousand Sun follower. I can't remember their name right now, but they talked about what their world looked like, what Prospero looked like, and it was super demonic. Iskandar Khayan, yes.
Iskandar. Yeah, Iskandar. Yeah. Iskandar is a badass. I want to be really clear.
They had demons just casually walking around. Attached to them as familiars.
So to be clear, those were warp entities. Were they demons? Were they certainly on the Venn diagram, the tutelaries, they called them tutelaries. The tutelaries were warp entities that were very similar to demons. They didn't act like demons, and they didn't really do demonic things until after the burning of Prospero. After the burning of Prospero, absolutely demons. Prior to that, it's really questionable.
During the burning of Prospero, one of those things possessed a dead wolf. And then,
I said the burning of Prospero is the moment where they stop being one and kind of become the other.
Yeah, but if that didn't happen, they would have been fully corrupted. So I still think they were
very demon-like. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's not like the Watchers in the Dark, where they're definitely not demons. They're warp entities, but Watchers back in the day had the demon rule.
Okay, so you know how we talked about, when if the emperor died, and whether or not he's a god, and whether or not he could become a chaos god and all that.
Yeah.
The same thing is there's that same gray area with tutelaries and demons as there is with the emperor and godhood. It's they're basically demons, but are they really? The emperor's basically god, but is he really? There's gray area there.
We do know that in the warp there are entities that exist that are not demonic.
Right.
We also know that there's living creatures in the warp sometimes, which is weird.
Well, yeah, there's
void
these,
whales,
enslavers, Psychonoian.
that weird crocodile that can go through the warp.
Yeah. Psychonoian are pretty nasty too. They're these little wasp creatures that lay eggs in your brain through the warp. You don't even know. You'll just have a headache one day and be like, oh God, what's going on? And then these eggs hatch out of your brain. Anyway, moving on. So well, that was a heck of a little tangent we went on there. Didn't the Wordbearers have chaplain pre-Nikea? Well, they certainly had guys that were like chaplains before Nikea. That's true, but they were the only ones, and their chaplains were more spiritual because the whole Wordbearers thing was about being spiritual, so, and religion. So, I mean, yes, but also no. I mean, that's really the answer there. Didn't the Wordbearers train the other chaplains? I mean, establishing a chaplain.
Yes.
Some did, some didn't. It certainly wasn't a all legions, all chaplains thing. Some chaplains, probably.
All legions, all the time. Horus Heresy.
Didn't the first heretic depict chaplains before Nikea? Yes, first heretic did. But that's the Wordbearers specifically, and not all legions, which I want to be clear. There were the chaplains were in all the legions and all the chapters afterwards, but those are different. Those are different freaking chaplains. Oh, Pusuyo. Exorcists were an attempt to create a dedicated demon fighting Marines by a guy who didn't know about the Grey Knights. The Grey Knights are very secret. That is a very possible thing.
Yeah, that's actually that I imagine is the in lore universe like thing. But it doesn't make sense because their founding was done by an inquisitor who would have knowledge. Well, I mean, it is just a person, so they probably didn't have knowledge of the Grey Knights at the time when they decided to make this, okay, this chapter.
I'm going to turn this over to Alexis for a little bit. I will be right back.
Oh, now it's just me. How do I do this? I could do this. Heck yeah. It is my show now. So, I want to talk about some other Space Marine stuff, more specifically their vehicles. Space Marine vehicles are all in the shape of a rhino, and I will give you an example of what a rhino looks like, because I'm amazing. Let me just rip a rhino out of my box of tanks. This isn't a full rhino, this is a Predator, but ignore it and pretend that there is a top to it. So the Space Marine Rhino is actually like a super advanced tank that is environmentally sealed, can operate in the void, it can magnetize its tracks to operate on top of a spaceship even. The STC for it is near perfect, and it is completely modular with most of the other Space Marine vehicle parts. So if you need to mod it into a Predator, you can by simply putting the turret on top of it and the weapon sponsons on the side, adjusting the interior for the room for those weapons. You can mod the front of it by pulling off the front plate and putting the Vindicator plate on it, and then putting the stuff into the rear compartment. You can turn it into, I should explain what these things are and what they're used for. The Rhino itself is used as an armored personnel carrier. It is a very fast, travels at about 35 kilometers per hour, and can operate on any terrain going that fast. It also houses enough ammunition and is used as a command vehicle, typically. The Rhino itself can be changed into the Predator. The Predator is your dedicated anti-tank unit. I should hide this really quickly. Is your dedicated anti-tank unit, and it can be turned into two different types. One being the Predator Annihilator, specially designed in taking on opposing tanks with its high speed and its ability. It's a light tank, so it's very fast, can get to the location, turn on a dime, and blaze something out with light speed of light cannons. So it's a very hard tank to counter. And the other version of it is called the Predator Destructor. The Predator Destructor is an anti-infantry / heavy infantry variant of it that uses heavy bolters and an autocannon on the top of it. More specifically, the Predator autocannon, which is a faster rate firing autocannon than the Imperial Guard's Lehman Russ autocannon. So
Well, Space Marine tanks in general are built to be a lot quicker.
Yes,
they're
rapid assault vehicles.
Right. So the idea is that the Space Marines will land at a spaceport, drive very quickly to like the planetary capital, and seize that. Whereas
sometimes they'll just drop them straight from Thunderhawks.
Sure, but
they'll just fly in super quick, just drop them and fly off.
The difference is the Astra Militarum drops a whole bunch of tanks, and they slowly, inexorably grind their way to the target. So that's
funny enough.
The
Space Marines are basically scout tanks. But going into the Vindicator is the next variant of tank. The Vindicator is a siege tank, which is weird for a Space Marine to have, but they have it. And they do need something to break barriers and things that Space Marines can't initially get over right away. And this thing is specially designed to do that. It's designed to just throw out a giant blast, blow open a fortress, and let the Space Marines in. The other variants of the Space Marine Rhino include the...
so many variants of the Rhino.
The Scorpius, the Whirlwind, and the Helios. All three of these are artillery pieces, and they specialize in various different things. The Scorpius is an anti-heavy infantry light tank. The Helios is anti-air. The Whirlwind is it's kind of an all-comers. It's a larger saturation bomb than any of the others, but it does have shorter range than the Basilisk and the Medusa, which at the time the Legion had, but then those were moved to the Astra Militarum, the Guard.
Are you talking about the Land Raider Helios?
No, the Rhino. The Rhino could actually have the Helios missile system put on top of it.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it is dedicated to anti-air. And then there's two extremely rare variants of Space Marine Rhino, which is the Striker and the I forget what the other one is. GW made them around 6th, 7th edition and discontinued them immediately.
Don't forget about the Damocles.
Yeah, the Damocles, the Command Rhino.
The Command Rhino. Yeah, it's full of command gear, better communications, better sensors.
Yep.
All that stuff.
This one, the Damocles Command Rhino, is actually directly connected to their spaceships, where the typical Rhino, while it does connect to the spaceships, it's meant for more of a smaller area of effect, where the Damocles Rhino commands an entire company. Mm-hmm. It is the overall command vehicle. And there is a variant of the Land Raider, which is also a command vehicle that does the exact same thing, but it seems like kind of a waste to make it a Land Raider. So those are your Rhino facts of the day. I just wanted to go into some tanks because I absolutely love me some tanks. And the Rhino is such a classic vehicle. Now, originally Games Workshop did develop the Rhino and then look for cheap alternatives to make their kits because they were a small company at the time. So the Rhino itself, being the standard box shape, was perfect to put in all the other vehicle bits onto it and then be like, let's use lore to justify the reason that the tank can do this versus we didn't have the money to create 5 different molds for 5 different exclusive looking tanks. They were all just the Rhino.
If you want to have a fun blast from the past, look up the Mark I Rhino for 40K on Google and look at the images because wow, those were some old tanks. Yeah. But the Rhino now, the chassis that they produced in the late 90s, early 2000s, that one is fantastic because it's the basis for a crap load of tanks, including all the Predator variants, all the Rhino variants, all the Razorbacks, and all the Whirlwinds. There's more. I'm sure there's more.
Funny enough, the Rhino is
all the Predators. All the Predators are on a Rhino chassis.
Yep. The Rhino itself is so iconic that even when GW decided to move things to Primaris and try to replace the Rhino is still heavily bought to this day. It is such an iconic vehicle. They did make a better kit. The Heresy Rhino is a better kit for the Rhino. The current Rhino for 40K does suck, unfortunately. It is a very difficult kit for new players to build, and there's no real purpose to having it, unfortunately, versus a Razorback.
The Heresy version is called the Demos.
Yep, the Demos pattern. Well, the Demos is that pattern because you have Demos Predator, Demos Scorpius, Demos, yeah. But that is the pattern name of that rhino.
There was even a Grav version of this.
Yes, that the Sisters of Silence used.
Sisters of Silence have some of the best shit. So,
yep.
Yeah. Now, well, actually, here's another thing. This is something you brought up in our, intro to 40K video, and that's about like how Space Marines interact with other groups of the Imperium. Like you brought up like the fact that the Imperial Guard cannot command a Space Marine to do something because
they can ask them. That's
right,
it.
Right. Space Marines have a very unique, well, I wouldn't say unique, but they have a very special place in the hierarchy of the the Imperium war machine.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, any other group has no authority or power over the Space Marines. Even Inquisitors who have they walk around with essentially ultimate authority. They can get a lot of things done, but an Inquisitor cannot walk into a Space Marine chapter and say, okay, all of you guys work for me now. They can say, I'd like all of you to work for me, and here's why I think that would be a good idea. And if the Space Marines agree, cool. Now we have the Exorcists and the Red Hunters and things like that. But it's not a case where the Space Marines are under the authority of anyone else. In fact, here's a fun fact. If several Space Marine chapters are operating in the same area of war, like a planetary assault or something like that, they will collectively get together amongst themselves and nominate one of their commanders to be the overall commander of all Space Marines, rather than have of all Space Marines in that area, rather than have each chapter trying to do their own thing, because that can be very counterproductive if they don't do this. Similarly, generals of the Astra Militarum will give great respect even to the lowest ranking Space Marine. Even a standard battle brother walks onto the bridge of an Imperial Navy battleship, and the admiral's like, "How can I help you? What can we do for you?" Right? Like they command great respect. Space Marines command great respect from all the other different groups. There is a couple of groups though that do not give as much respect, that have, I should say, varying levels of respect depending on the group. First of all is the Ecclesiarchy. The Ecclesiarchy, as we talked about in our What is 40K video, they are the religion of this. It's a galaxy-spanning religion that is actually 500 different cults in one trench coat. And the Ecclesiarchy, why is the Ecclesiarchy upset? Why do they care about what Space Marines think? Because Space Marines, with a few minor exceptions, do not consider the Emperor God. They have institutional memory stretching back to the Heresy, where they have stories, including the Space Wolves. How Bjorn can even come out and say, "Yeah, the Emperor's not a god. I've seen him. I've walked next to that guy." So the Space Marines, by and large, just generally don't see the Emperor as divine, which is a major no-no for the Ecclesiarchy.
Yep.
And the second group, Alexis already knows what I'm going to say, is the Sisters of Battle, for the same exact reason.
Sisters and Space Marines, they get along when they need to.
They get, well, it depends on which, like certain chapters, like the Black Templars do consider the Emperor divine. So Black Templars,
they get along perfect.
They get along great. And certain orders of the Sisters, which I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I'm sure they exist. There are certain orders of the Sisters that are probably like, it's fine. They're the warrior angels. They're the angels of death. The Emperor created them. It doesn't matter what they say. They're still the Emperor's creation, and therefore are awesome. So it just depends.
I think there's a few other chapters that view the Emperor as divine that could get along with the Sisters of Battle, but in large, the Sisters will like assist Space Marines, but they won't like. They don't get along. Like I think Order of Our Martyred Lady and Ultramarines get along because the Ultramarines know like not to rile up the Sisters.
Now, interestingly, in the Heresy era, Space Marines were in charge of Solar Auxilia. There were entire groups of Solar Auxilia that answered to Space Marine commanders.
What were they called? I have one. I forget what their name is, but they're a Councilaris choice.
Yeah.
And they're kind of terrible, unfortunately.
Well, it depends. It depends because I forget what they're called too, but they're really cool. Anyway, the point is that now in the era Indomitus, Primaris Space Marines are in a very similar position vis-a-vis all the other Imperial organizations. So an Inquisitor treats Primaris Space Marines with just as much respect as they did the Firstborn. The Ecclesiarchy sees the Primaris basically the same as the Firstborn. Space Marines do typically command great respect, no matter what rank they are. But there are groups that take advantage of this. Obviously, the Alpha Legion. They love masquerading as a loyalist chapter. They'll show up on a planet. By the way, remember, most people have never met a Space Marine. So they're just like, yeah, these guys, these giants in power armor showed up, and they had a cool snake symbol on their shoulder pad, and they told us to do the following things, and we did them because they're Space Marines. And the Inquisition's like, oh God, not again.
There's a whole book where Alpha Legion built up a shrine world, all with the intent of corrupting all of them at once, and then their faith was too powerful. Dang it.
Yeah, Alpha Legion are either like really smart or really dumb. I mean, there's really no middle ground.
It depends what they're needed for. They're either comedy relief or terrifying.
So also Era Indomitus, I should point out, Guilliman is actually technically the highest authority in the Imperium right now. He let the Lords of Terra rule the Imperium for the most part. But he also made it clear that if they didn't do what he wanted, he was not going to be very happy.
I mean, he also replaced a good chunk of them.
That also happened. Yes.
Yeah, he was just like, all right, you, and you, fuck off. The rest of you are cool.
Basically, yes. Also, so certain chapters also get along differently with the normal citizens. Salamanders go out of their way to protect normal civilians, to try and keep collateral damage to a minimum, things like that. Whereas the Iron Hands, another loyalist legion, are infamously callous about dealing with civilians. They're like, Sergeant Clear the Square is a very different command for each of those two chapters.
Here's a good comment.
Doesn't the Imperium pretend that the Horus Heresy and the Traitor Legions are a myth? Depends. The Imperium is a million worlds, give or take. That's a million different cultures and a million different ways to look at it. The typical Imperial citizen believes that the Space Marines that probably doesn't even know about the Chaos Space Marines, honestly. Probably barely knows about the heresy, only knows what the preacher of the Ecclesiarchy tells them. And remember, the Ecclesiarchy is 500 cults into trenchcoat. So depending on which cult is preaching to him is what he knows about the Horus Heresy and what he knows about the Traitor Legions.
I do want to point out that in a lot of the Sister of Battle books and a good chunk of like Imperial books, they do only talk about the 9 Primarchs, and there are only 9 taught. So they're not taught about the Traitor Primarchs at all.
Depends.
They're just,
depends on the world, but many worlds do that.
Yep.
It's impossible to say for certainty like this is Imperium wide because there's again so many freaking worlds.
We do have a few super chats, so let's get to those real quick.
Good idea. Leader 2457 says, with the Exorcists, it gets even funnier. Some other lore suggests they are successors of the Grey Knights. Inconsistency in my Warhammer. Warhammer has been around a long time, my friend. And let's remember, the very first Inquisitor was named Obi-Wan Sherlock Clouseau, and there was a half Eldar Space Marine. We talked about this earlier in this episode. Things change over time. The lore evolves.
In the future, we could have female Space Marines. The lore does change, and it changes all the time.
Last year, we learned that Custodes have always been women. Remember?
Yeah.
They're like, you guys, you just didn't know. So lore changes, and it's possible that this could come around again. Who knows? But yeah, you're right. There were early versions of lore about the Exorcists that did suggest they were a successor of the Grey Knights, which we know now is impossible. Weird.
And then we have one more.
Pusayo, hey Ross, talk about the Storm Wardens. Okay, because you asked for it.
All right, let's go. Storm Wardens.
Alexis, what do you know about Storm Wardens?
Absolutely minimal. But this comment isn't about me. They want to hear it from you.
It's true. So in 2009, I was given the chance to create a new Space Marine chapter for the Death Watch role-playing game. And I was the lead designer on that book. And I said, okay, I'm going to make a Space Marine chapter. And we went back and forth with Games Workshop, and they were like, okay, well, this is fine with us. And they gave me, they laid down the rules. They laid down, they can't know who their Primarch is. They can't know which founding they're from, etc. And then we started talking about the name. And I put out a lot of names. I remember one of the ones I really liked was like the Twilight Swords. And Games Workshop was like, that we kind of like to leave Twilight as a term for Eldar stuff because they're in the twilight of their civilization. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And we went back and forth on a few other things and came up with the idea of the Storm Wardens. The Storm Wardens are a chapter that's based in the Calixis sector, which is the setting for Dark Heresy. And they are called Storm Wardens because they guard against incursions from a warp storm, which is on the fringe of the Calixis sector. Excuse me, let me get that out. A lot of chaos forces use warp storms or warp phenomena as a place to hide or a place to lair. The Maelstrom is one place, the Tide of Terror is another place, and the Screaming Vortex, which is the name of the warp storm near Calixis, is no exception. So the Storm Wardens, my initial thought was to do something kind of like this chapter I'd seen on the Bolter and Chainsword site back in the day. It's called the Eternal Warriors. They had this really cool hourglass symbol, and I was like, oh, that's so neat. They're really cool lore. And I was inspired. I said, okay, well, what are some cultures that we haven't seen for Space Marines before? And I had this kind of bizarre idea that I was going to make Scottish samurai as Space Marines.
You know what? All I can think about is that episode of Samurai Jack where Jack met the Scotsman.
Samurai Jack was on the air at that time. So the Storm Wardens have a very strong Scottish flavor to them. They basically carry claymores.
I want them to all talk with a thick Scottish accent.
Their chapter master has a Scottish name. The things about them that I wanted to really emphasize was that they liked to duel enemy commanders. They would seek out enemy commander and let's go, you and me, honor fight. But they also had strong armor because I was a big fan of Space Marine tanks. So they had armored columns was their tactic in war. But when it came to an enemy champion, they'd be like, okay, you and me, let's go. I wrote their backstory to involve a lot of stuff dealing with the enslavers because the enslavers are a really fascinating minor alien race in Warhammer 40K. Look them up. We'll probably do an episode on weird aliens at some point in the future, but enslavers are these bizarre warp creatures that take over your mind and puppet you around.
That might have caused the downfall of most civilizations back at the end of War in Heaven, but a minor race.
Technically, they don't have any miniatures, so I mean, I think that minor race works, but
they sort of have one.
Is it that Necromunda figure you're thinking of?
Yes.
Okay, those are enslaver-like, but they're not actually enslavers.
They're close. They're the enslavers at home.
Right. So the Storm Wardens fought the enslavers at some point in the past. Really had a really Pyrrhic victory over the enslavers, and at that time, that's when the Inquisition swooped in because the Inquisition is big in the Calixis sector. The Inquisition swooped in and said, "Okay, listen, what happened here can never be talked about again. You have to seal your records. You have to, there's a lot of things you need to do to make sure that whatever happened doesn't spread." Because according to a lot of the lore we know about the enslavers, what they do when they take people over, that is that can filter out. It can expand like a disease. So nobody knows exactly why, but it's related to this event with the enslavers that the entire first company went into stasis and all the Dreadnoughts swore a vow of silence. And since that day, they've been waiting, kind of like King Arthur under the stone. They've been waiting for the darkest hour of the chapter to return. And the rest of the chapter considers themselves the inheritors of that first company and the values that they fought to uphold against the enslavers. So that's the Storm Wardens in a nutshell. They're Scottish samurai with a really interesting, at least I think so, backstory. So Victor says, while it isn't known about the Storm Warden's Primarch, do you have a creator's preference? If it was up to me and I could just pick a Primarch that they are descended from, I would actually make them world eaters. I would make them.
Yes.
I would make them Angrons guys. I think at the time when I first started making them, I was thinking they were actually White Scars. I was thinking they were the Khans. But as I wrote the lore about them, the more their martial honor kind of came out, I was like, this is really more world eaters. Early pre-heresy, obviously, world eaters. But that's where I was going with that. So thank you for asking. Necroplayer97 says, what's y'all favorite piece of first and or second edition Space Marine lore? Oh, I got this. Mine is the Dorn Poop Vault. It's so collage sorority piled, it makes me laugh.
Mine is quick, so I think I'll do mine first. First edition lore is that the Rainbow Warriors existed.
Rainbow Warriors is a good one.
For second edition, it has to go to anything orc. My favorite story actually comes out of second edition. It's from an orc. It was Wog Orcs, and it was spelled Wog because they didn't have Wa down yet. And it is a small little tidbit in that book of an orc repairing a wing while flying through space. And then out of a window pops another orc, and he just goes, "Oi, you're not wearing your bucket." And then the orc looks up and dies.
So,
or the pink grenade. The pink grenade was also really funny in second edition, where they would throw white paint at orcs and they would say they died and all the orcs died. But that was back when 40K was not serious at all.
No, first and second edition was very silly.
Yep.
The game
anti-fungal grenade.
So to be clear, 40K is still silly, still weird. It's harder to find. So first or second edition. Okay, so unfortunately, my favorite thing I just thought of was actually from third edition, which is Doom Rider.
Yes.
But from first or second edition, I will actually say so. The first 40K novels were written by this guy called Ian Watson, and there's a book called Space Marine, and it's about a Imperial Fist. And in that book, Ian Watson wrote that the Imperial Fists love pain. They love pain a little too much, which is a thing that has continued forward, by the way. But in his book, he talked about them scrimshawing their own bones. Like they would literally flay open their arm and then scrimshaw the bones and then let it heal over. Yeah, your face right there. Yeah, it's wild. The Dorn Poop Vault, I'm not super familiar with, actually. So if anybody wants to tell us about that, please do.
Or don't. It's up to you.
or not. I'm okay not knowing about that. Ricky also, Chapman.
I do want to thank everybody for giving us super chats and everything. It's really helping us out. You guys are awesome. And some of this super chat is going to keeping that cat fed.
Feed Kovu, please. He's a really crazy cat if he doesn't get fed. I have 2 basset hounds that need food as well. So thank you. I do appreciate the super chats as well. Ricky Chapman 3377 says the Emperor's children gaslit an entire Imperial world that they were loyal Marines, even the Noise Marine with the 2 mouths growing out of their neck. Sounds legit. Sounds like something they would do.
Yeah. I always like the there was a old comic made about the Noise Marine, and it's like 2 guardsmen looking at the Noise Marine. This has been animated very recently, and it's the Noise Marine's he's blasting his music, doing his thing. And the guardsmen are like, he hears something completely different. And it's actually like a sad song from when he was a child. And I always felt bad for like the Noise Marines.
Mike says these books are not canon anymore. He's talking about the Ian Watson books. Yeah, they're not. I really don't think that they are. But you asked for first or second or whoever. Necroplayer97 asked for my favorite piece of lore from those days. That was weird, and I was like, there you go.
Do you remember the old GW not licensed but okayed stories from back in the day where they would appear in other magazines and everything, and it gave us that female Space Marine chapter?
Yeah. And Dragon Magazine had a chapter of Space Marines that were dancers. They would go around. They would go around to all the other Space Marine chapters and dance interpretively and try to raise their spirits. They were like the morale glee club of 40K.
Yeah, there's artwork of them.
Yeah, by a fairly famous fantasy artist, in fact.
Yeah, and I do wish GW would go back to that a little bit. I like the idea that I do like what they're doing with fan paint jobs and everything, where they're like, hey, we sent these to like some painters and they painted them up and now they're showing them off and everything, even though that's a cheap way of getting people to paint their miniatures and show them off so they don't have to pay for advertising. But that's a whole nother story. I do like that they do that and they include the community as much as possible. I love that they're streaming now, but this has nothing to do with Space Marines except when they're streaming Space Marines.
Speaking of Space Marines, we are basically at the end of our show here. We've hit our 3 hours. Thank you for riding along with this as we talk about Space Marines. There's so much more to go into. This is probably part one. If there's some specific stuff you'd like to know, drop it into our Discord, because we have a very active Discord. And
or if this video goes live on, or when this video goes up on YouTube, comment it in the comment section down below. We do read all of that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed.
Thank you guys. You know, it is it's due to your support that we're able to do this at all. And I, for one, am absolutely thrilled to be able to come here and talk about 40K. We have Alexis and I, we're constantly like, oh, we have to do a show about this, we have to do a show about that. We're eager to get this information to you. Look at that. There's Nurgle. So Alexis and I are over the moon. We're very, very happy to be doing this. And
yeah, it's great. I love it.
Look forward to more Lorebeards 40K in the near future.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to end it, and goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you.